Wiggle it just a little bit. So now young ladies don't even want their age mates anymore.
Wanatafuta wababa.
Wanatafuta
sasa wababa.
Sasa wababa kama mbaba yuko na school fees.
Kila mtu anataka kuwa na Bentley.
There are serious things now around surgery.
Around surgery,
wrong,
yes.
And then the idiotic, your bottom line is, your song is so bad that to make people interested in it, you have to
use your backside
again.
You see, where are the brains?
Yes.
Where are the
hidden somewhere near the bottom?
Well, the referee says it's a penalty. He said it was a handball, and he's given a penalty. It did touch his hand. It's absolutely spot on. Asmoa Gyan has the chance for the penalty spot to sink Serbia. Gyan steps up, Stojkovic goes the wrong way, and Ghana are going the right way. The deadlock finally broken with 6 minutes to play, and Ghana have the lead. Some kind of freedom, and that is that. And Milan Rajovac, against his home nation, will not celebrate the victory, but those in his team will. Ghana 1, Serbia 0.
Exactly 6:30 a.m. Good morning. Where are you watching us from? Always a pleasure to have you on board Monday through Thursday, 6:30 all the way to 10 a.m. I trust you've woken up well this Thursday morning. We have a lot in store for you this morning. Interesting conversations coming your way. And you know, Thursday, we keep saying all the time, is our new Friday. So clearly Matters Entertainment will take center stage. We shall also be looking at how our dailies are looking like this morning, knowing fully well that yes, all the 22 cabinet secretaries are set for appointment. Good morning and many thanks for making time. I'm Doreen Arangi Okello. Steph.
All right. Speaking on matters that went down at the August House is that also the TSC was on spot with the parliamentarians discussing an issue on the Teachers Service Commission. Marie, take over.
Good morning, Doreen. Good morning, Ayeta. And good morning to you from wherever you're joining us this morning. It's the 27th of October 2022, and definitely ready to bring you more in the news, including the appointment of the 24 cabinet secretary coming up just shortly.
Parliament has given its seal of approval to all the 24 cabinet.
Good morning once again. My name is Marie Yambo. Now, the National Assembly has approved the appointment of all the 24 nominees to the cabinet. This is after members of National Assembly considered a report of the Appointments Committee chaired by Speaker Moses Wetangula, which gave 23 nominees the green light, and a separate motion by Kitui County Member of Parliament Irene Kasalu, which saw Penina Malonza given the thumbs up for appointment as Tourism Cabinet Secretary.
Parliament has given its seal of approval to all the 24 cabinet nominees.
Of the Honorable Penina Malonza OGW as the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
On Wednesday morning, members of the National Assembly endorsed a report of the Appointments Committee that approved 23 nominees and rejected 1. Thereafter, the legislators approved Penina Malonza's nomination for the Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage docket after considering a separate motion sponsored by Kitui County MP Lilian Kasalu.
I move the following motion that in the view of the decision of the House today, with respect to the motion on the approval of appointment of Honorable Penina Malonza OGW as a Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, and the requirement for an unequivocal decision of the National Assembly on such matters, I beg to move.
President William Ruto is now expected to appoint Cabinet Secretaries as follows: Musalia Mudavadi as the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Interior Docket Kithure Kindiki, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u for the Treasury Docket, Alice Wahome Water and Sanitation, Aidan Duale Defense, Rebecca Miano East Africa Community, Asor and Regional Development, Dr. Alfred Mutua Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Aisha Jumwa Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action, Moses Kuria Trade and Industry, Soipan Tuya Environment and Forestry, Kipchumba Murkomen Roads, Transport and Public Works. Others approved are Zakaria Mwangi as CS Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Mithika Linturi Agriculture and Livestock Development docket, Eliud Oalo Information, Communication and Digital Economy, Ezekiel Machogu Education, and David Chirchir of Energy and Petroleum. Salim Vuria of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, Susan Nakumincha of Health, Simon Chilugui of Cooperatives and MSMEs Development, and Florence Bohr for Labour CS.
3 legislators from the bicameral parliament have resigned from their representative roles following the approval to the cabinet by parliament on Wednesday. The 3 Garissa Township Member of Parliament Adan Duale, Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome, and Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen Tuesday tendered their resignation to respective speakers pending their formal appointment by the president.
Aden Duale, Alice Wahome, Kipchumba Murkomen and Soipan Tuya have officially switched parliament for cabinet. The 4, whose nominations were approved by the National Assembly on Wednesday, have promised to strengthen the relationship between the legislature and the executive.
I have been a legislative insider long enough, Mr. Speaker. I hope that as I cross over to the executive, I'll keep the faith and do the job.
There is a lot that this country lost, Mr. Speaker, by denying the opportunity, Senate the opportunity to contribute to matters of bills. That is one area, Mr. Speaker, even as I exit from this door, Mr. Speaker, to the executive, that is one area I will continue being an ambassador of the Senate.
Mr. Speaker, that Parliament will continue to put the executive in check so that then we can be able to deliver on the promises.
Aden Duale will be Kenya's next Defense Cabinet Secretary, while Kipchumba Murkomen will head the Roads and Transport docket. Alice Wahome is set to become Water Cabinet Secretary, while former nominated Senator Soipan Tuya is heading to the Ministry of Environment to replace Keriako Tobiko as Cabinet Secretary. In saying goodbyes to their departing colleagues, members of parliament urged the cabinet nominees to use their experience to effectively serve Kenyans.
We have been members of parliament, and I have no doubts that you are going to make sure that the people of Kenya get access to water. And now they call you leader, even when you are a ranking member. But I personally will remember you for one piece of advice. You say to me, even at the toughest time, even with all my duties, I have made sure that in my time in parliament, I always am home by the time when my children are doing homework.
Nawashukuru sana na naombea dua. Ndugu yangu Duale, shika kazi, shika kazi.
Following their departure, the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate are constitutionally bound to declare the seats vacant ahead of by-elections.
Kamcha Menza, they are reporting. President William Ruto has rooted for close trade ties between Kenya and Spain. Speaking during a meeting with Spain Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez at State House, Nairobi, Ruto called on Spanish investors to exploit the vast business opportunities available in Kenya.
It was a first visit by a Spanish Prime Minister to Kenya since the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries 57 years ago. President Ruto playing host to Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, who is touring the country.
Thank you, sir.
While insisting that Kenya is open to trade and investment opportunities, President Ruto rooted for closer trade ties between Nairobi and Madrid. The head of state calling on Spanish investors to pay attention to emerging business opportunities in Kenya.
Kenya welcomes, Your Excellency, the interests of Spanish companies in various sectors, including tourism, agriculture, infrastructure, water management, and renewable energy. And I commit to strengthen our economic and investment relations between our two countries and appreciate that bilateral flows have shown a very positive growth.
We have many areas where we can work together and strengthening our bilateral cooperation. I was telling the President Ruto that normally in Africa, Spain is well known by its national soccer teams, which is fine. We love that, but I think that Spain is also a potential ally.
The two countries have agreed to develop a permanent dialogue, building on common principles and shared values as part of strengthening their relations.
We are very strong believers that the future is that of cooperation, working together and building a common market, not just as the East Africa community, but also as the continent of Africa, using the infrastructure of Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that Kenya is a signatory. And again, Spain can leverage on the advantage you get out of Kenya being the champion, not just for the East Africa community, but the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
3 memoranda of understanding touching on trade, health and education were signed during the meeting. With the war between Russia and Ukraine, as well as climate change threatening the existence of humanity, the two countries have also agreed to continue to work together and adopt a common position on global issues.
You can count on my support and that of my government in ensuring that we take a common position when we go to Sharm el-Sheikh later next month, so that we can, in a robust manner, in an honest conversation, be able to have a discussion on the effects of climate change, especially those of drought, those of famine, the loss of wildlife, the loss of livestock, and the threat to human life that is being caused by the ravages of climate change.
I'm honored to be the first ever Spanish Prime Minister to visit Kenya. Of course, we're looking forward to have your visit in Spain soon next year. And of course, we're looking forward to strengthening our bilateral cooperation on many fields.
Members of the National Assembly now want the Teachers Service Commission to stop the ongoing compulsory delocalization of teachers. Members of Parliament adopted a motion by Lurambi Member of Parliament Titus Hamala that demands that TSC initiates a comprehensive review of the teacher deployment policy in line with the International Labour Organization.
Teachers Service Commission is on the spot for implementing the delocalization program for teachers without involving stakeholders. Lurambi MP Titus Hamala moved a motion in the House seeking to reverse the delocalization arguing it was detrimental to the welfare of teachers as well as the performance of students. The motion attracted support from the majority of MPs across the political divide who demanded teachers must serve within their locality.
And as members of parliament, because we represent Kenyans and these teachers are our voters, where is the problem within the Teacher Service Commission? Perhaps we should go for the leadership.
Compulsory delocalization has been weaponized before by the people who are in power to ensure that the teachers who are pertained or purported to be anti-them or anti-their interest are transferred to areas where, for want of a better word, is not suitable for their even career development.
The moral fabric of the society, Mr. Speaker, has been broken because a teacher is married to another teacher. The lady is delocalized to Mandera and the gentleman is delocalized to Busia. Mr. Speaker, these are young people who should be working close because at that age, Mr. Speaker, they need to be close, Mr. Speaker.
The lawmakers maintained the localization program was not supported with a clear policy framework, hence the need to hold public participation on the deployment of teachers. MPs from marginalized areas, however, opposed the motion, insisting teachers must be deployed to areas with no teachers.
Teachers should be posted in counties that are far away from the areas during the time of recruitment. New teachers. When you are recruited, you can be posted far away because we also recognize that we have a country that we have to build.
Teachers, like other civil servants, should never be saturated in one place, and when we have shortage in other areas.
Teachers who are delocalized in 2018 are now applying en masse to be transferred back to their homes, having completed 3 years as per TSC policy.
To the drought situation in the country, where the ongoing drought ravaging 3/4 of the country can partly be attributed to climate change. A lecturer in the Department of Earth and Climate Sciences at the University of Nairobi, Professor Gilbert Ouma, says research on changing weather systems shows rainfall distribution through the season has reduced to 2 to 3 days rainstorms. Judith Akolo reports as a section of leaders drawn from the arid and semi-arid lands want the government to declare the drought a national disaster.
Over 4.1 million Kenyans have been rendered food insecure by the ongoing drought. The dry spell has also killed thousands of livestock, and many more are on the brink of starvation. The obtaining situation has further fueled cross-border conflicts in areas such as Kitui and Garissa. But how did we get here?
Drought does not occur just once. For the community, when they see that scarcity, then they start thinking there's drought. But you can see the reduction in rainfall way before.
Professor Gilbert Ouma of the University of Nairobi says the depletion of household resources among the most vulnerable individuals in society could result in a major humanitarian crisis.
Our people are feeling droughts more now because it's not happening just once. It's a successive happening. If we take the example of southeastern Ukambani area, this is the 5th failure of the season.
He further warns that, going by recent data on changing weather systems and studies carried out in Turkana County, most of the dry lands are expected to begin receiving an increased amount of rainfall, while high potential areas may begin receiving reduced rainfall amounts.
The dry areas may start getting relatively higher rainfall, and the high potential areas may still receive depressed rainfall as we're going into the future.
A section of leaders from Marsabit County is urging the government to fast-track the implementation of drought mitigation measures in the northern region to help curb the loss of lives and livestock mortality due to the prolonged drought.
The most important thing is, yes, the drought is there, the suffering is there, and how do we alleviate this suffering of the people?
In one of the centers in North Horr, a place called Illiret, early this year we lost 12 children in one center due to malnutrition.
We want our president to declare this a national disaster.
Thank you, Judith Akolo, for that comprehensive report. And still staying with matters climate change, the Young Women Christian Association, that is YMCA, is calling on the government to finance county-responsive action on climate change to boost food security and eradicate poverty in marginalized areas. The association further says there is need for facilitation to promote technology development and transfer to help in implementation of existing climate policies. The ladies made the call in Nairobi after the culmination of a 3-day workshop geared towards providing a platform for local communities to dialogue on worsening impact of climate change.
Financing is taking too long with a lot of bureaucratic procedures really to access. So we call upon simplifying that process so that the local community can actually benefit from what they deserve. So up to now, there is no one project that we can say is financed by that particular arrangement. Yes, on our participation, really on those parts, yes, we are pushing the voices of youth. We are pushing the voices of women. We are also pushing the voices of the marginalized communities.
What we are lacking is we are making these commitments, but at the end of the day, the county governments are not able to finance them. So for these initiatives to be locally led, we need county gender responsive budgeting and climate responsive budgeting. These will enhance the marginalized, the youth, women and the indigenous people to participate profitably in this climate initiative we are talking about. So without that, we shall keep making commitments, raising our voices, but without finances, then it becomes invalid.
We now shift gears to business news, where rice production at the Ahero irrigation scheme is set to double once the planned expansion of the scheme is complete. The National Irrigation Authority plans to expand the irrigation scheme to 36,000 acres from the current 16,000 acres. The authority says Ahero is currently producing close to 40,000 metric tons of rice, but has the potential to double the number to 100,000 metric tons. Achola Simon was there and brings us details of that story.
Consumption in Kenya has been growing at a rate of 11% in the last 10 years. This has made rice the third most important staple cereal in Kenya after maize and wheat. However, production has fallen far behind consumption, with the country producing 80,000 tons, while Kenyans consumed 710,000 tons in 2020. To lower the import cost and spur consumption, Kenya has been expanding land under rice irrigation, which currently stands at 25,000 acres. To increase rice production, the National Irrigation Authority plans to increase acreage at the Ahero irrigation scheme.
We say that if you want to go fast, go along. But if you want to take a longer distance, then go together. So maybe we can go together, but depending on how the Kenyans show their ownership. So rice production is one of the areas that the Japanese government is looking at, but also other areas of cooperation, because you have so nice Lake Victoria water resources, and there are social challenges that the neighboring counties are facing.
The National Irrigation Authority says the Ahero irrigation scheme is currently producing close to 40,000 metric tons of rice, but has the potential to hit well over 100,000 metric tons each season.
Still, there's a lot over around 20,000 acres which have not exploited, because also the capacity of our pumping system here. But now with this, if the Soru Koin Dam is constructed, we can be able to bring the other areas which we have not been able to exploit into food production. And that one will be able to increase the food security in this region.
The expansion of Ahero will be done with the help of Japanese government through Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA.
We would like to make this partnership sustainable on rice production in this area. So not only the rehabilitation of the infrastructure, we'd like to have a strong farming community here. That's the key for rice production to grow further. So not only the hardware component of the assistance that we are looking at, but we are looking at the soft component assistance.
The scheme manager, Ken Sitawa, also wants the government to invest more in mechanical pest and bird control measures to reduce wastage. Currently, close to a third of the production go to waste due to invasion by the red-billed quelea birds. Achola Simon, Kisumu County.
Thank you, Achola. Engineers have been urged to take advantage of the mutual recognition agreement already existing among East African Community member states to tap the expanded business opportunities. The Engineers Board of Kenya is in the process of signing up the Washington Accord to expand opportunities for its members. Here is Wycliffe Okech with that report.
Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya's maiden 3-day annual conference kicked off on Wednesday in Kisumu.
We have delegates, foreign delegates.
Among the key issues being discussed include integration of infrastructure and development, engineering education and training, water, sanitation and irrigation.
This conference is about infrastructure. We have entitled it Rethinking and Reshaping Infrastructure Development Priorities in Africa. We chose infrastructure because it is critical to the socio-economic development of our country and the regions like the Lake Basin Development Region.
The conference will evaluate the critical infrastructure challenges, catalyze partnerships among actors, and devise ways of prioritizing infrastructure investment that will maximize benefits to society.
Local engineers were urged to explore regional markets made available by the mutual recognition agreement already existing within the East African community.
For us to open up positions for engineers to work freely across the globe, we need to enter into mutual recognition agreements. So one way we are trying to do that is to sign up with the Accord, whereby our engineers, once we enter into the agreement, will be recognized with all the countries that have signed up to the Washington Accord.
And to reduce cases of major infrastructure projects stalling, county governments and financiers were challenged to set aside adequate funds to facilitate construction works and engage engineering professionals in the project.
We also have engineers who have lived below expectations. And so for us to peer review ourselves and make sure that the high standards that we set in our professions is bear by all those who are members of these professions.
The private sector has been urged to comply with sanitary and phytosanitary protocols to reduce cases of goods being rejected at the border points. East Africa Business Council Director Mushai Kenywa says there is need for unifying standards to ensure the safety tests done on imported and exported goods are accepted across the East African community, member states that is.
The EAC sanitary and phytosanitary protocol came into force last year after its ratification by all member states. To ensure its smooth implementation, the East Africa Business Council, in partnership with Trademark East Africa, has rolled out a sensitization program with the aim of boosting intra-EAC trade.
Once you create the sensitization and awareness, you can already comply, and in this way we can facilitate trade in the region. So for those who don't comply, sometimes it's because of lack of knowledge. So that's what we're trying to bridge, to ensure that the knowledge is created amongst the private sector.
The sensitization program targets to make private and public sector players aware of food safety measures they should follow to ensure goods aimed for cross-border markets pass the compliance test.
We first have to sensitize the private sector so they're aware of what food safety measures they need to follow. And that way, by the time you get to the border, you have already complied.
So that we are not putting too many rules so that the trade becomes impossible or expensive. Because ideally, if we can reduce costs while keeping safety going, that will be useful for all of us.
The officials say integrating the use of technology will enable traceability and visibility of implementation of the protocols. East African Business Council is now hoping that sensitizing private firms on complying with SPS protocols will help boost business activities in East Africa.
We now shift to sports, where Cameroon could miss the services of striker Youssoufa Moukoko, who has reportedly been included in Germany's provisional World Cup squad. Elsewhere, Wales is likely to miss the services of defender Rice Norrington Davis after suffering an injury. The World Cup finals will be televised live on KBC Channel 1 beginning on the 20th of next month. The hashtag is World Cup Eco KBC.
Wales manager Rob Page says Ryan Norrington Davis is likely to miss the World Cup after suffering an injury. The Sheffield United defender was carried off with a hamstring injury just 12 minutes into his side's 1-0 defeat at Coventry City last week. He looks likely to be the first Wales player officially ruled out of the tournament by injury. The team is also sweating on fitness of Swansea midfielder Joe Allen. The former Liverpool player has not played since coming off with a hamstring problem during Swansea's championship win over Hull on 17th of September. The World Cup finals will be televised live on KBC Channel 1 beginning the 20th of next month. World Cup Eco KBC.
Well, World Cup Eco KBC, and that means keep a date here, because it will be televised live on KBC Channel 1. Well, that's where we bring the news to an end this morning. Thank you so very much for your company. Good Morning Kenya still continues as we come back with more in the headlines.
Kakamega mpo. Stesheni uipendayo Ingo FM inakuletea road show ya mwaka katika kaunti ya Kakamega, Ijumaa tarehe 4 na Jumamosi tarehe 5 Novemba. Tarehe 4 Ijumaa tunazuru Mumias, Matu, Shianda, Navaholo, Malava, kambi ya Mwanza, Lurambi, na tarehe 5 Jumamosi tukutane pale Kakamega, Hayega, Malinya, Bukura, Huisero, Mulwanda, Sabatia, Ekero na Mumias Town. Kutakuwa na vichekesho na burdan dosha. Pia utakutana na kikosi kizima cha watangazaji na waenzi wa Ingo FM. Usikose.
Radio Ingo, ingini ya Mwitala.
Kakamega na yefu bwana.
Wala zote na salamu zimfikie Hashimu, mwenye cheo kwa karimu, kushinda viumbe.
Shetani hatokudanganya tena, hatokughuri shetani, hatokupoteza shetani. Maadamu umetoka katika nyumbani kwako ukasoma hiyo dua, bismillahi tawakkaltu ala Allahi wala haula wala quwwata illa billah.
Na yale ambayo binadamu anafaa kuwa nayo ili aweze kuingia katika pepo ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ni kuwa mtu mwenye kutekeleza vitendo vyema na kutubia madhambi.
Welcome back. Thank you.
staying with us. It is now time to review what the different dailies have for us today, and I'll start you off with People's Daily. On the front page, it reads, CSs get jobs after night of lobbying, and the whole story is on page 4, where it says intense lobbying by the Kenya Kwanza leadership and a section of Azimio One Kenya colleagues rescued the careers of 3 individuals nominated to the cabinet but who had been rejected by the committee on appointments. And the 3 cabinet nominees were Penina Malonza, Aisha Jumwa and Mithika Linturi, who faced suitability questions. So there is reprieve for these 3 cabinet secretaries, and a source close to the Tuesday evening said that the majority leader Kimani Ichung'wah lobbied his colleagues to rally behind nominees Mithika Linturi, Penina Malonza and Aisha Jumwa, who were on the verge of being rejected by the House. And also sources said the nominees, including the Attorney General seat and the Secretary to the Cabinet, will be sworn in today at State House, Nairobi. So some of the cabinet secretaries that have been nominated and approved and Parliament, Adan Duale, the former MP of Garissa Township, and the MP of Kandara, that is Alice Wahome, yesterday gave their speech, and in their speech alluded to their exit. Actually, they resigned from their seat and they said that this is to pave way for the issue rights, declaring the Garissa Township and the Kandara parliamentary seats vacant. That is by the Speaker. So in her speech, Wahome, who will be heading the Water and Sanitation Ministry, urged MPs to remain steadfast in their oversight to the executive, and she also called on Kenyans to embrace and support women in leadership positions. And Adan Duale urged members to find a way to protect the Constituency Development Fund, saying he had seen the fund change lives in all constituencies in the country. Both of these leaders actually said that the members are free to come to their offices when they need support, if and when they need support. Another story making the front page is that TSC is on the spot of a teacher's transfer as 250,000 to check exams. And the full story is that the Kenya National Examination Council, NEC, will for the first time ever administer 3 national exams. That is the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment. This is from CBC, and the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education to over 3 million learners. This is the largest number ever that they have had to deal with. And some 1.2 million candidates will sit for their KCP, about 1.3 for their KPSEA, that is for the CBC, and another 800,000 will sit their KCSE. The TSC Secretary Nancy Macharia said that for every 200 candidates, the directors are to deploy 1 supervisor. Still on matters TSC, yesterday there was a storm in the House, that is the National Assembly, over teachers' transfer policy, and the MPs took the issue with the TSC Commission Chief Executive Nancy Macharia for mismanaging the program, saying that the lawmakers regretted that under Madam Macharia, teachers have suffered a lot, with some of them losing families when deployed in areas away from their spouses and children. And Kamala, who moved the motion, the MP, told the TSC to initiate a comprehensive review of the policy with the involvement of teachers in order to make it consistent with the International Labour Organization and UNESCO laws and practices on teachers' management and deployment. So the lawmakers agree that the delocalization program has caused tutors untold suffering, including breaking families since 2018 when it commenced. Finally, a story on some interesting story on business on page 24. How one lady called Session Dwiga rose in her business venture in the party and decoration business. So in a nutshell, she started by identifying a problem in her area. It came about 2 years ago as she planned a small house party and recognized that there weren't really party decoration materials in her area. Therefore, due to the lack of deco materials in Embu Town where she resides, made her to realize the existing gap, which she stepped out to bridge. Then she started selling decorative balloons for different occasions before venturing into other corresponding deco items. Later, initial capital, which was 2,000, and she had to plow back the profits to expand the venture because she saw a demand. And now Session has Seti's Deco and gift shop and wishes to open a physical shop as she mostly operates from home and the social media. So this is a feature story that you can take a look at. You might be inspired. It's talking of how one can start a business, and she is a youth, and this is a topic that we'll be discussing later on SMEs in Kenya. What is the environment like for an SME operating in Kenya? This is a discussion that you definitely want to be a part of among many other that are to come by. Doreen.
Hustlers Cabinet, that is what the Daily Nation is holding for you this Thursday morning. That is in fact the main read, and this comes after all the 24 nominees were approved yesterday by Parliament. Of course, that is by the plenary. This 22, of course, that is what is within the Constitution, plus the Attorney General there, as well as the Secretary to the Cabinet, forming a total of 24 who were approved yesterday. And just what we have in this particular article is that full for Ruto's cabinet, just highlighting how this cabinet ministers or cabinet secretaries will be coming at a time where there's a lot of promises and pledges to be fulfilled. With this, what Kenyans are largely expecting from this cabinet, the 22, I should say. And yes, we are also awaiting that appointment for them to be now fully in cabinet. This is what we are having here on this particular article. In fact, just one specific statement that you're having here is that the CSs will take over at a time when President Ruto is under pressure to deliver on his mandate at the highest level of public service, as well as some of those pledges and promises that he made during the campaign trail. So that's what you have there on the front page of the Daily Nation. Also, Ruto is set to host lawmakers at State House. This is in fact the third time the parliamentary group meeting will be happening. This is after he was declared the winner in the just concluded elections, and this is set to happen today between 7:30 and 9:30 a.m. This is supposed to be taking place at State House. What we have gathered so far is largely part of what is set to be included in this particular parliamentary group meeting. Of course, taking center stage, including the 50 billion Hustlers Fund, which, as what we know, as also what was mentioned by President Ruto, is that this is supposed to be taking effect as from the first week of December there, which is also one of those things that Kenyans are clearly talking about, the Hustlers Fund. And one thing that is also coming out is that this isn't really going to be free as it were, or better yet, as you thought. So that is also one of those things that is supposed to be taking shape at this parliamentary group meeting, which is set to begin from 7:30 this Thursday morning. Also, the lawmakers are set to discuss on matters of key committees in Parliament and how to navigate that. Issues of approval of government policies and expenditure plans will also be forming center of this particular meeting this Thursday morning. And again, to some international news now. Ethiopia conflict peace talks open in South Africa. Also, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has been at the center stage of the peace talks in Ethiopia there. That is in Tigray, which is a conflict that has been happening over the past 2 years. And this just because of the recent surge of events that have been taking place at Tigray. This is what has informed African leaders, particularly those that sit in particular session, to look how best they can solve the situation and the ailing conflict in Ethiopia, particularly in Tigray. What we also have here is that the peace talks, which opened in South Africa yesterday, are being spearheaded by the African Union, and this is also going to be a 6-day talk to see how to get possible solutions to avert the conflict that has been taking place or happening in Ethiopia there, that is particularly in Tigray. Also, The AU Horn of Africa envoy and former Nigerian President Obasanjo will equally lead the negotiations in Pretoria, that is in South Africa. This is what we also have on the international front there. And Jumwa murder case postponed amid talks with victims keen. There had been conversations on sorting this matter outside court, and this is in respect to the murder trial, which was against the Public Service Cabinet Secretary nominee, as well as gender, that is Aisha Jumwa, and this has been pushed to next month after she failed to update the court on the progress of the ongoing negotiation to settle the matter out of court. Also, what is coming out from one of her lawyers, that is Danstan Omari, who represented the former Malindi legislator to the court. She said that she could not be physically present in court because all cabinet secretaries nominees have been ordered to stay close to State House. Quite interesting there. But then this is why she couldn't be physically present in court. But again, this is a matter that they resolved to settle it out of court. One of those things that perhaps was posing as an impediment to his nominations as a CS. But then clearly from what we saw yesterday, all the 22 have passed muster, regardless of active cases in court or not. And again, we know that October is a breast cancer particularly, awareness month, which is also a conversation that we had yesterday with our very own lovely guests there. I call them our heroes, cancer survivors. And just looking at this article, which we have here has well enumerated the burden that is cancer. And also one thing that will really interest you is that when you talk about breast cancer, this is not just a cancer that affects women only, but also men and women. Of course, prevalence in terms of data and statistics is amongst women, but ideally it affects both men and women. And also from what we have here is that research so far shows that cancer is currently the leading cause of death, and the most common types of cancers include the breast cancer, colon cancer, rectum, lung, as well as prostate cancer. Also, the WHO data shows that 10 million deaths from cancer were recorded in 2020. Or you can imagine the number of persons that just lose their lives as a result of cancer. And that's also why it makes it pertinent and important to equally continue marking October as a breast cancer awareness month, to continue creating awareness as well as look for possible ways to alleviate the burden that is cancer. And just before I toss it over to Marie, let's quickly look at what the back page of the Daily Nation is having for you. Look for alternatives to poorly targeted food support. This is what the IMF is now advising Kenya. And not just Kenya, but also the Horn of African countries, which have largely been affected by drought. In fact, in Kenya, we are talking about a population of 4.5 million. This is the data that we currently have, and this data has been increasing progressively. In fact, at the beginning of the year, we were at about 3 million of those really affected by drought, and now we are standing at 4.5 million Kenyans being affected by drought. We have seen the various government interventions that have been put forth so far. In fact, the beginning of this year, when it comes to cash transfers here and there, food being distributed here and there. But now what IMF is saying is that this is not one of the best ways that Kenya as well as these countries should be dealing with the issue that is drought. And so now they're also faulting the food support to millions of people facing starvation and faulting those interventions of cash transfers as well as food aid. So then one would ask, so then what should we do given the fact that this is one of those very key as well as pertinent issues? Well, IMF is looking like to be having a solution to this issue, seeing that they are saying countries need to be replacing the issuance of food aid to affected people with other measures. What other measures, you ask? When you get the details, I'll be telling you, because again, also we've talked about looking for long-term solutions to deal with issues of drought. Marie.
Thank you, Doreen. And I'm looking at the Standard newspaper here, where the headline is reality check for President William Ruto, and that is to do with some of the pledges that the Kenya Kwanza team had made during the campaigns, especially concerning issues of food prices or the cost of living in general. And what is coming out now is that the Kenya Kwanza might be forced to review some of its pledges as reality hits that the economy is not doing as well. Remember, lowering of food prices was one of the issues that many Kenyans were really looking forward to. But according to this story in the Standard right now, is that might not be a reality, at least it might take a year, according to the president. And some of the pledges that the president or the Kenya Kwanza team had pledged, apart from the lowering food prices, there was also the issue of interest-free loans for small businesses. That also could be reviewed. We don't have the details of what that may be. It could be some of the things that will be discussed today in the meeting at State House, and also boosting agriculture being one of the pledges that Kenya Kwanza or the president made while campaigning, and probably to address also the issue of high food prices and food security in the country. That is on the front page of the Standard. Also being highlighted here is that Pakistan deploys team to probe the killing of Pakistani journalists. That happened this week, so that is also highlighted there in the Standard. Another story in the Standard on page 7, DCI officers in abduction case fight detention. There were these 4 DCI officers who were in court for the abduction of 2 Indian nationals and their taxi driver. So that story is being highlighted there on page 7 of the Standard. Also being highlighted in the Standard, page 9, is Nairobi Governor, that is Johnson Sakaja, has unveiled his cabinet nominees and has pledged sweeping changes in the city. So he's named his cabinet there, and even some of the dockets. So you can actually get a copy of the Standard to be able to familiarize yourself with some of the cabinet ministers or CECs, for that matter, in the capital's assembly. So all that you can find in the Standard. I think I want to bring it to a close from my side. Thank you so very much for your company. I'll be handing you over back to Ayeta and Doreen, who will be steering you through the Good Morning Kenya. So from me, it's goodbye for now. Until next week, I'm Marie Yambo.
And we continue with the Daily. Back to the People Daily, we have another story here, ready for trade with Spain. And President Ruto and the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez witnessed signing of trade, health and education deals after talks at State House, Nairobi yesterday. The Spanish firms are keen to invest in tourism, among other sectors. So the story is that something that should take note of is that the Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is the first Prime Minister of Spain to visit Kenya since independence. And now, from the meeting they had yesterday at State House, our president said Kenya is looking forward to learning experiences from Spain and the European Union. And the 2 countries signed a memorandum of understanding to expand relations in trade, health and education. Our president also stated that Kenya welcomes the interest of Spanish companies in tourism, agriculture, infrastructure, water management and renewable energy projects. And the Prime Minister Sanchez said Africa is a priority for Spain's foreign policy, adding that they will continue building on good relations between the 2 countries, Kenya and Spain. To some other story, that something that happened yesterday is that it was the birthday of the former president of Kenya, Uhuru, who turned 61, and he shared a clip at an undisclosed location, thanking God for unity and seeking forgiveness. Finally, the government seeks 60 billion shillings bond for roads. This is a move by the state to raise billions that will finance key infrastructure projects, piles more pressure on the ballooning public debt, which hit an 8.4 trillion Kenyan shillings in June. These are some of the stories. Now to you, Doreen.
Now, let me run you through quickly on what the Star is holding for you today. And just as Marie has rightly put it there on the standard that yes, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja unveiled his cabinet yesterday, and we clearly have been seeing county bosses doing this from Meru to Nairobi yesterday, also Siaya, and we have also seen the row that has caused, particularly in Meru County, due to issues and cases and concerns of nepotism. But just going by how Siaya county government will be looking like, seeing that the governor unveiled also this yesterday. We're looking at the 10-member cabinet in Siaya County, which is largely comprised of master degree holders as well as PhD holders. This is what has dominated that 10-member cabinet in Siaya County. You're talking about the CECs there. And also amongst those nominees is the government spokesperson Colonel Cyrus Oguna, who has been nominated to become the chief of staff in that particular county. So this is what you're seeing actually, coming out from most of the county bosses appointing their cabinets. Those are the CECs. And we also have one very interesting article here very quickly before we wrap up in the headlines. This is an article that talks about, it's actually an expert's comment that says, hire experts to head parastatals. There's a very simple answer to reforming state corporations or parastatals, and we should stop seeing these parastatals as basically meant to do business operations, but as bodies that provide services to the country and the people, just citing that we should hire people that are well qualified to the job. And this article also, just in its highlight, continues to highlight with the aspect of the secretaries, who we know that those interviews are still ongoing. From the over 9,000 who had applied for this position, narrowed down to 585, which actually interviews, once complete, the 50 names are supposed to be handed over to the president for nominations. And this is what now, based by this article, is what it's talking about, that experts need to be hired to these positions of parastatals and governments. And lastly, how Ruto cabinet picks survived the legislators' axe. The rival question being, then what is the purpose of this vetting at the end of the day? This is what also this article is highlighting, knowing fully well that there are those three who had sort of been put aside because, of course, integrity issues amongst the two, and were not really passing muster as per how the vetting committee saw it. But then at the end of the day, all the 24 have passed muster, and all the 24 will be appointed. So the biggest question is, then what is the purpose of this at the end of the day? And also, what really happened to the minority report that was presented by the minority side? But again, divisions within the minority, with MPs from Lower Eastern, pushed for the approval of tourism nominee Penina Malonza, which actually saw all cabinet nominees surviving the lawmakers' acts. And this was basically a collaboration that saw the Kitui members of parliament seeing that it was necessary to approve the nomination of this of the CS nominee tourism. But then again, the question also being profiled here is that it's really a question of gender, question of region and tribe that would make one pass muster. So then what happened to the aspect of suitability, and what happened to the aspect of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, leadership and integrity? Good place to end this segment. That has been in the headlines, but clearly when we recoil, plenty more of Good Morning Kenya. Stay with us.
Child. We didn't know what to expect, but now we're so proud to call you one of our own.
The film follows 22-year Lusala, adopted by an affluent Nairobi family a decade ago, and who is forced to leave the nest and start a new life by himself. Eager and acquiescent at first, he makes the most of his independence until the demons from his past return and he has to face them head on. movie features Brian Ogola, who plays the character Lusala, alongside Stacey Waweru, Mkamze Mwatela, Alice Wangare, Charlie Karumi, Melvin Alusa, and finally Alan Oyugi, who plays the character Uncle Onesmus.
Actors use different methods of acting. One of the methods that's very common and that is being promoted is method acting, where a lot of personal pain and personal emotion is brought out. It could be from a different personal experience, but I use that feeling to bring out my character or another character. And in this case, I remember that how difficult it was, because certain people were bringing up certain memories from their past and so on. To use that tool on screen is not easy.
Directed by Mugambi Ndhiga, the film Lusala seeks to highlight the issues around mental health and childhood trauma that often affect the youths.
It's a very important film because it deals with two critical issues: mental health, and not just mental health, but even mental health arising from childhood trauma. This is a topic that we discuss in this film, where there's violence meted out on a child, and what happens to this child later on when they grow up, based on the initial experience where this violence was meted out on the child.
Sasa uko nyumbani, kila kitu kitakuwa sawa.
For a long time, the Kenyan film industry has been put on the back burner, if I may say so. I wouldn't even really say that we have a proper film industry, but we're heading in that direction, whereby we can employ as many people, as many young people who are gifted, who are talented, and this will be a major income earner for many people.
Although his past memories keep stalking him, Lusala is motivated to make the best out of life. He is offered a job as a car mechanic, but will he manage to overcome the trauma and move on with his normal life?
Tell everyone why you kicked Lusala out.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
October is usually a World Savings Month. For this reason, we will be having a talk on promoting a savings culture in Kenya, where we discuss the general savings culture in Kenya, challenges hindering savings, how to increase savings, how to develop a healthy savings culture, savings options available in the microfinance and SACCO sectors.
Na mbona wanaongea vitu za uongo ati mimi niliiba? Wewe, kuna pesa yako yoyote imepotea? Hata wewe uko na pesa kweli?
Hapana mama, hakuna pesa yangu imepotea na mimi niko na pesa.
Na mbona unakuja kusema ati pesa ilipotea, sijui mizi yako kwa nyumba? Mimi nakuanga kwako.
Before ujibu, mimi sina rauo, sina simu. Napatikanaje kwa mchwete nikitoa maafiri?
Sasa wewe
nitajibu
sana maswali, atajibu gani ya wache gani?
Interpret for me. Naweza kuwa nasema ujinga.
Unaniita mjinga mimi? Anauliza ikiwa amesema yeye hapatikani kwa hiyo M-Pesa. Anaweza kuwa anasema yeye anasema ujinga.
Na ananiambia mimi niko na ujinga.
Hakusema wewe.
Ananikichapia imbu wenye aje. Kwanza mimi si mimi. Unacheki? Si radi umdenge. Naweza kuwa anasema uanga bwana.
Mimi ni wewe, si ndio? Kurada ni kujua. Ujue msijana? Wewe anajua yeye, nyinyi ni friends.
Umejuaje?
Welcome back. On to the first interview of the day, and we want to talk about a project that has been initiated by a charity organization on matters education. This project is titled Scratch a Mind, and it is meant to empower the school-ongoing children in the rural areas. And for that, we are joined by the founder and president of Miles of Great Hope, that is Mr. Isaac Kuria, and also to my nearest left is the principal of PEFA Elimu Academy, who are the beneficiaries of this project, Mr. Xavier Opilo. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And we want to know about what you do first before we get into the project, because I know you do more than education projects. So tell us about this, Isaac.
Yes, so thank you so much for having us here. We really appreciate the institution, your cooperation, for the good work that you guys do for the community, for the country, for the citizens, to bring the information. Again, my name is Isaac Kuria, and live in North Carolina. I am in finance. I consult with families, and and I engage on volunteer capacity with the organization Miles of Great Hopes. Okay, so what is Miles of Great Hope all about? Miles of Great Hopes is all about reviving, empowering, and sustaining hopes. That is our vision, and that entails three components. One being clean water, sanitation, health, and education. Okay. And we're focusing currently on our education piece. That's why we have the principal of the PEFA Elimu Academy. All right. We want to know about the project that is currently ongoing, that is Scratch a Mind, and I understand that it is a STEM project. So tell us about it before we come to the principal. Yeah, so the program is actually focusing on helping and engaging young children to learn more with technology, to ignite their creativity, their innovation, their ability to do more with added skills, especially looking at where our country is. We have the traditional, old system of 844, where we had, the teacher and a chalk and all of that, into the critical thinking piece of it. So that's where we are. Okay. And Mr. Opilo, tell us about this project. How is it being beneficial to your students?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to enable us to share together about this program called Scratch, which is a simple programming simulation tool that we realized to see it in the curriculum design that was rolled out this 2019 by the government of Kenya. It was in line with the KBC, and we were privileged to have that program run in our school, and it has successfully gone through, especially grade 6 and grade 5. Though grade 6 was the first one to tackle this, and so far we've rolled out to grade 5, which has also gone out successfully. Okay. So it's a very good program that helps children to reason. It's a programming simulation tool that has actually helped children to reason out and able to create things. The creativity of the children has really improved. It has really made children like technology. Now that technology is a tool, a delivery tool in every educational sector, we cannot avoid it. We had to embrace it, accept it, and move on. Thank you very much, the president, who actually picked our school to pilot the program. All right. It started with the 13 when we piloted, but now when we enrolled the program fully, implemented fully, we had a good number of children participating, around 101 children participating in the program, and they have really enjoyed it. It is in the system.
The total number of children enrolled is 101?
101.
Both grade 5 and grade 6? Both
grade 5 and grade 6 who have been participating in the program for the last 5 months.
So is this the whole class in grade 5 and grade 6, or are they particular students from these classes that you have identified, or who have an interest?
All of them. Okay. All of them. We started with all of them, but now there are those who have really picked up the interest of carrying out with the programs even in future, because they have liked it. The attitude has really grown high, and almost each child is now happy to be engaged with it.
Okay.
So it's a good thing, a good program.
All right. Back to you, Isaac. Why did you see the need to bring this program, especially to, because I know this is a school in Busia, to the rural Kenya? Why rural Kenya? Because this is an area that normally don't have access to technology, and the advanced learning is not something common in these areas. Why did you see the need to do so?
And thank you so much for the question. We all have needs as, community, as a family, as an institution, and as a location. So people within the urban areas, they may have access to, items and gadgets that can enable them. The school is in, of course, outside of the urban area, which is Ilbisil in Kajiado.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure wasn't there at the school. In line with the CBC program and the government agenda, we wanted to do something that aligns with our vision as an organization. And we looked at the element and the focus point. So what we do when we are identifying a project, we go into the area and we do a survey. We listen the need, we assess, and we see, do we have a capacity to execute the program? So we have a project, senior project manager, Simon Nyoma, who has done a great job in actually helping us to identify those needs and articulate on why should we go to this school and not the other one. So the PEFA Academy became a very good match for us. They have more than 500 students, and we started with, as the principal was highlighting, with a very small segment of as a pilot program. So 2021, during the height of COVID, we picked on 7 kids, and very quickly, they grew to 22 students.
All right.
And then we continue to do that. I am joined by my colleague, Mr. Diaredi, and we went there yesterday. We looked at how the program is working. We volunteer as an organization, and we are picking up on those creativity areas and those needs levels that as a measurable tool to see how it's working.
Okay, and what are some of the creativity areas and the needs levels that you have identified from your visit yesterday?
So as young people, or even ourselves, sometimes we change our careers, or your interest might be, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a musician, whatever it is. And you get to measure and see the creativity in students by the way they speak, the way they engage, the way they respond to questions. So yesterday we went to the school and we had an activity that actually ignited some bulbs in their mind. The scratch a mind idea is what did you do? So we are not telling you how to solve the problem, but the kids are solving the problem themselves.
Right.
And the creativity aspect of it, I'll give a quick example. We gave a little wire and a little bulbs that they needed to do the positive and negative so that it can turn on. Yeah, so they did that, and then we gave them a decorated colored wires, and kids came up with glasses, eyeglasses. Others came up with a hat, others did a human being, others did a bicycle, others did all kind of things. And the question was, why did you do the eyeglasses? Why did you do the hat? And that conversation provoked the areas of their interest, because I've been wanting to be a doctor. That's why I thought the heart is important. Now it's getting into the details of the functions of a heart in a human body. I mean, it's really, I do welcome the KBC to take a look at it. It's
all right.
And we headed back there, by the way, today to meet with the parents. So we like the whole community, from the teachers, from the students, and the parents to be completely engaged. And I think it's been a good result.
All right. And back to you, Mr. Opailo. Yes. What exactly are some of the activities, the projects that, like he has mentioned an example of it, what are the other activities that these kids participate in the project to teach them technology and to scratch their minds? Do they do coding? Do they do, things on computer literacy?
Yeah, programming starts with the fun. Actually, this program has been designed in a way that it makes children have fun with it.
Okay.
It challenges them because the activities they will work on computers, their problems they'll create themselves, and they make and create solutions on the same. So as it progresses, children are able now to come up with their own. Children are able to come up with the graphics. They're able to design their own games. Their ping pong games. They're able to.
So they can actually they do coding till they design the games.
Yes.
Okay.
They start with the games, as they now start preparing their own games. Now they are those provided in the system. After they have interacted with them, they also using the same. They now start coming with their own. So it has really improved them in terms of reasoning, problem solving, and possibly some are even willing to come up with their own programs in future.
All right.
So it's actually a good program. It at that level it's a simple programming, but as it progresses, it will grow to a notch higher, and they become better people in the future that will embrace technology.
All
Since
right.
it is a goal number 2, to promote industrial and technological needs of the country. I think that's why I started by saying that we cannot avoid it. And since it is in the system, in the primary level from grade 5, and our children have really liked it, and they would wish in future to continue the same.
And do you think other schools have this, even schools in the urban area, do they have such projects?
I may not know the program the government has rolled it out, though ours is a private, founded by the church, Prefer Church. So we are very grateful for the charity organizations like Korea, who actually picked on our school. And we started with a simple 5 laptops. And from there, some people donated. Now that we have 11, we now have 11 laptops.
All right.
After they have helped us, donated some. Other people donated 1 or 2. The way you said, the Diary also donated. So we've had a good number. Now we had 11. And we had to start from that simple beginning. And hopefully in the future, God willing, if we shall have other people coming in and assist, actually the program will be 100% successful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Isaac, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what he was talking about. To your very question, you know, how the program exactly, what is it? So the Scratch a Mind is a program that was developed by the MIT labs, but Scratch a Mind is developed from the Ireland. So it's an open source program that we have developed a curriculum for school, and the setup is we have the curriculum that they follow through the block-based and text-based technology. So it brings in the communication between the kids, it brings the collaboration and sharing. So we give them an assignment, they work on it, they don't have to finish it, then they share it, they talk about it, and then we ask them what was successful things that you identified, what were your areas of challenges, and that's the same application whether you're developing shoes for running or doing clothes or you're doing any kind of project. There is always challenges. Why are you meeting the timeline? Why are you, how is the application of the resources that you have? So we are emphasizing on those areas from the young children at a very early age, and that is what life is all about. So there is no surprises when they go continue with their education in their high school, in their college. They realize what I learned from those initial levels, it's exactly what life is all about. So it becomes a very easy process to succeed in life.
So they also taught life lessons from it.
That's correct.
And you being from the US and also a Kenyan citizen, how do you see this helping the Kenya education sector with the adoption of CBC and projects like this? How do you see this helping our education?
It helps because it, number one, appreciates the education part of it, and also it brings in, or it bridges between the, the two worlds, which is more of the same world. connected through, the education piece, that whatever is being learned there. I'll give a quick example. In 2019, before COVID, we did a Lego project, and we worked with a couple of schools from Nakuru, from here in Nairobi, and the National Museum of Kenya was our central place to connect. And we connected with a museum in North Carolina, and we were doing video conferencing. So we matched the kids from in Kenya and the kids over there through technology, and were able to learn a lot more. They created friendship. So the program has more to give in terms of exchanges and learning, and not just waiting. Kids, when they going by from school to home, they identify little things that because we igniting their ability to solve problems. Yeah.
And how long is this project? Seeing that the class 6, the grade 6 rather, students are moving away. So what will happen to them after they go?
So this is brings in the what next, the next steps.
Yes.
We are working with the school, so we cannot just say, okay, thank you, we are done. So we are always thinking and trying to, but we need resources, we need to operationalize. So we have our subject matter expert who has been donating his time on weekends, training our project leaders and ICT teacher into ways of how the program works, so that it can be easier to apply it and succeed with it. But we do need resources so that it can remain successful. As the teacher is mentioning, the school has a lot of kids, and we would like all of them. They have signed up, but to give the quality, we cannot have everybody engaged.
Okay.
So any resources with funding, with infrastructures, the computers, the laptops, that would be a great way to make it succeed in the future.
Right.
But we are developing from the very first to curriculum to the next one. That is very much appreciative of the CBC program with the government.
Yes, and I'm going to ask you if you intend to move to other schools and support others. But before that, I want to ask Mr. Opailo, what are some of the successes that you have seen from this particular project, from the students, those that have had their minds ignited by this and have taken, you seeing a future for them in the tech world, tech space?
Yeah, as I say that as teachers, as the system goes, that we identify the competencies of the children, and as he has said that after having assessed yesterday, they saw the creativity and the critical thinking and problem solving in the children had greatly improved, because they were able to create various items, depending on their interests and maybe the careers they opt to do in future.
Yeah.
So, as I said also, they're able to interact with these computers. They're able to interact with the various games and graphics, and they were able also to apply some simple programming or applications in the computer. So that has been a wonderful thing that I've witnessed in the children. And also the issue of communication. The issue of communication and collaboration has been a core competence that has worked out in our children. We saw children coming in groups and able to discuss and share out how they can create blogs and create some item in the Scratch program. So as they interact together, as they come in groups, as share issues together, they're able to improve each other in terms of communication and collaboration. That has been a core competence that I've realized in the children, and has really empowered our children in terms of communication, even in class. As we teach, the children are able to share out the ideas, they're able to communicate effectively in class without any fear, because they are used to do it every time we have lessons.
So how often are the lessons?
We've tried to capture lessons every day, especially during games time. Especially we have rolled out a program that each day there should be a class that is attending those lessons. It's now that the children are 100, we have figured out in a week we can have at least 20 attending computer lessons in a day.
Okay.
So it runs from Monday to Saturday, in fact.
Okay.
Even on Saturday, they come for computer lessons. And they have really liked it. Even the parents have really assisted us. They have cooperated well. They have allowed their children to come for such a lessons even on Saturday morning.
Okay, and would you say it has been embraced by all of the students? And are there others that find it a bit difficult than as compared to others?
Yeah, depending on abilities of children, there are those who have really, who are of good ability, that have understood these things. They are really ahead of others, and we are using the same as group leaders to help others when they are in groups. So actually, now that it has been a daily routine activity, it has been a part of our tool, as I said, that IT nowadays is a tool of delivery almost in every subject. All children have picked interest of knowing how to operate a computer, how to deal with it. There is no other option. Now the attitude of all the children, even those who had never seen a computer, they have picked an interest.
Okay.
So with the time, I'm very sure in the future, all the children will embrace it, and you have to do it with it.
All right.
So maybe to add up on the core competency, as I said, apart from communication and collaboration, we've also seen creativity in children.
Okay.
There was a project on science. The children were able to model the heart using plasticine and clay.
Okay.
We have seen children creating things because of the Scratch. The Scratch has really opened up their mind. They're able to come up with various items.
So they're able to think outside the box.
Outside the box. So I really commend this program.
All right.
I really commend it, that it's a good program that will help children. Though when it started, we did not know actually about it. Why?
So it was something new, and then you all embraced it.
And it became so important to our children.
Okay, and Mr. Isaac, what are some of the challenges that you encountered when bringing the project to the school, it being something new that the community hasn't seen, that the children are not used to it? And then as we wrap up, you can tell us what you intend to do in future in terms of if you want to also help the other schools in rural Kenya, or you're also coming to the urban areas.
Yeah, so some of the challenges has been the time difference. We are in the US Eastern time. Kenya is sometimes 7 hours ahead of us or 8 hours ahead of us. And it's been, we have to sacrifice on the time to coordinate and do Zoom meetings with the training that is required. We also depend on the donated funds, so we do fundraiser, and we focus on what the budget is, and execute on the project at hand. As looking at the growth, we are in conversation with the National Museum of Kenya to see how we can coordinate and look at the neighborhood area, the Nairobi area, the children who may not have the capacity to have the gadgets in their home that can be able to benefit. We are also, a month ago, we launched a collaboration between Mouse of Great Hopes and the Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology, RVIST, in Nakuru. So they have also is initiating the same, and we're having that collaboration. So there is a huge interest in doing this, but we have to learn how to crawl fast before we run. So we've been testing it, and that's where we are.
Okay, and how long is the project projected to last? How long do you see that the project will last? So
within a period of 2 months, we think that the curriculum, 2 to 3 months, will be sufficient for the first kids to be able to learn what they need to do. However, we're not going to stop there, because the school doesn't stop. So we are opening up to the world to say, hey, this is our children, these are our leaders for tomorrow. We have to invent them. Right. There is the past, the current, and the future. And the future is our children. We have to, contribute to that aspect. And therefore, we're learning by the day. The organization has a bigger vision to see the sustainability. And that's a question for you as who are watching. We are asking you to take a look at our website, www.milesofgreathopes.org. Miles is spelled M-Y-L-E-S. And there are ways to support our initiatives.
All right. Thank you. That is a good place to wrap this up at. We appreciate you coming on board. So that has been Mr. Isaac Kuria, who is the founder and president of Miles of Great Hope. And we've also had Mr. Xavier Opailo, the principal of PEFA Elimu Academy, talking to us about Scratch a Mind project that they are currently undertaking in a school in Kajiado to help the young ones, grade 5 and 6, to scratch their minds and think outside the box to empower them, basically. That brings us to an end of this particular conversation, but more is to come. Don't go too far. We take a short break. We'll be back with another conversation.
The legends and familiar chants will grace KBC once again. Don't miss the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 when
like I said, Nick, I don't know what you're talking about.
Can we go now? I'm ready.
One of you has to quit.
I quit.
Your sense of entitlement will cost you in life.
It is your family's empire. If you don't work there, who will?
But why can't I just do what I love doing?
Don't let his suit and tie fool you. He has a boss too.
Kwa nini baithu ukae kwa hadi mwisho wa mwezi?
Urenda atia?
Jitegemee bana. Niki.
I'm the boss around here, okay?
I'm sorry, Sarah. I was just trying to
understand your position.
And what do you think these kids are thinking?
They're grown-ups.
Kakamega mpo. Stesheni uipendayo Ingo FM inakuletea road show ya mwaka katika kaunti ya Kakamega, Ijumaa tarehe 4 na Jumamosi tarehe 5 Novemba. Tarehe 4 Ijumaa tunazuru Mumias, Matungu, Shianda, Navaholo, Malava, kambi ya Mwanza, Lurambi, na tarehe 5 Jumamosi tukutane pale Kakamega, Hayega, Malinya, Bukura, Huisero, Mulwanda, Sabatia, Ekero na Mumias Town. Kutakuwa na vichekesho na burdan dosha. Pia utakutana na kikosi kizima cha watangazaji na waenzi wa Ingo FM. Usikose.
Radio Ingo, ingini ya Mwitala.
Kakamega na yefu bwana.
heshima na utukufu Baba, umenitendea mema zaidi ya yote. Mengi umefanya, moyoni na shuhudia dunia yananisuru, nikikumbuka ulonifanyia nabaki nalia. Nilikuwa hawezi kwa leo wala kesho, hali yangu matata na mashaka, nilikata tamaa. Mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, daima milele. Mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, daima milele. Siwezi sahau shida nilizopitia, wala sitasahau wema wako Baba. Ulinitoa mbali jangwani nikichechemea, ukanipa nguvu, ujasiri wa kutembea. Matopetope Baba, mavumbi ukanikunguta, maumivu ya moyo na unyonge ukanipoza. Mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, daima milele. Mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, daima milele. Maneno yananiishia Baba, maneno yananiishia usema wema wako, maneno yananiishia Baba, maneno yananiishia usema neema yako. Mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, daima milele. Mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, mwema Bwana, daima milele.
Wow, I mean, what an amazing worship there. And for the two songs that you have just listened to, I have the artists here with me, and one of them, amesema, if he knew me earlier, angekuwa ameninvite to do a collab. So that's how my future looks in music. It looks bright, right? Yeah, so his name is Lewis Baraka on my nearest left, and to my farthest left is Joanne Mutugi, and they're both gospel artists. Karibuni.
Asante.
So I want to know, I'm just curious, both of you have Swahili songs because we've listened to them back to back. Sasa kwa nini Swahili? Because all of your songs, both of you are in Swahili. Let me start with Joanne.
Why I sing in Kiswahili? First, I want to thank you for the invite and even for being here today. I relate well with Swahili songs. That's what I can say, because even most of the messages that I get them through Swahili. Like even if I get an English song, I find myself converting to Swahili. The reason, I really don't know why, but I relate so well with them.
It just happened?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and for you, what's your story with Swahili songs?
Yeah, thank you so much first for the invite. Mimi mwenyewe binafsi mimi ni Mswahili.
Okay.
Mimi ni Mswahili binafsi, natoka Mombasa. Sasa Kiswahili kiko ndani yangu. So I find it very easy kuandika nyimbo Kiswahili na kuimba Kiswahili.
Okay, so Joanna sema she can think in English but write in Swahili. Yours unasema ni ndani yako tu, inborn, wewe Mswahili.
Ni Swahili damu.
All right.
Halisi.
Okay, Joanne, let's start with you. Tell us about your latest song.
My latest song is called Vipawa vya Mungu. It's just talking about the gifts of God that God has given unto us, and it came from the book of Romans 11:29 that says the gifts of God are without repentance, meaning that every one of us has a special gift that God has given unto them. So it's upon us to use the gifts that God has given unto us. So it's basically talking about the gifts of God. How are we using the gifts that God has given unto us?
Okay, so you're speaking to people to actually use their gifts?
Yes.
To serve God, or?
Yes. Of course, it is in God's service. I don't know because it's gospel, but I was really focusing on that word that comes from the book of Romans that says that the gifts of God are without repentance. You know, there are so many people that have special gifts, but they are not using it. Some of them maybe got discouraged on the way and they don't feel like they want to continue. But you know, every gift that God has given unto us, we shall account before God.
Yeah.
Because you have something special, I have something special. Like mine is singing. So how is my gift impacting people out there? Are people really getting blessed by what I'm doing?
All right.
It's not necessarily to be singing, but it is in diversity. Whatever you do, is it bringing something into God's kingdom?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying your gift is not unto you, but unto service for the people, one way or another, in singing or in whatever gift that you hold.
Yeah.
All right. Do you hold the same opinion?
Yeah. Actually, we have the same opinion. It's God assignment. So we are working on the God assignment. It's not just singing, but what God has for His people. So we are singing to change the life of past peoples. We are singing to impact someone. We are singing to touch a soul somewhere.
Okay, and we'll get into that. Singing for God and to impact someone. But first, still on talent. Do you think that there's enough nurturing of talents in the African setup, particularly in Kenya? Do we take note of the talents that the young ones have, especially in singing, because that's the industry that you're in? Do you think much needs to be done? And as a gospel, okay, just answer that first and then I'll ask him the other one.
I believe when it comes to mentorship, it's all about you looking for a mentor, because you see, everyone is nurturing their gifts. So if you're coming up as maybe a new music minister, you need to identify someone who can mentor you in the process, because there are people that you look up to. There are people that have been in this industry for like a very long time, and they have been doing well. So you identify such a person. That person may not even mentor you like directly, but their lifestyle, maybe the way they do things, they impact you. And that is also mentorship, because mentorship is not like now the way we are talking. Mentorship can be also in many ways, where you look at someone who has done so well and you follow them. so you desire maybe to do what I do. So I can say, yes, mentorship is there, but even you have a responsibility as an artist to look for someone to be able to mentor you in the process.
But what of kids that are, that are still small and they have these talents, but parents are forcing them to school, and we have CBC for this to identify talents, but do you think that parents are taking note of these talents, especially in music?
Well, yeah, we thank God for the CBC because now it has come with a lot of diversity. Yes. Mentorship is there for the young ones, especially if you're a parent and you identify that your kids have this different type of talents, then you nurture them towards the same path. And also in schools, that's why CBC has come to be able to identify this boy is good in this area, some are good in this area. So finally, I can say mentorship is there because even the government has taken the responsibility of mentoring. But now when it comes like to the artists, it's a personal responsibility to look at someone who can mentor you either directly or indirectly.
Okay. And to you now, what do you think that the music industry can do? Because tumesikia a lot of complaints about the small pay that you receive, and also the government not supporting artists, but the new government has at least pledged to be there for the artists, the entertainment industry. But what do you think that the music industry on its own can do to support the upcoming ones?
Yeah, we can do this by being honesty. Those people who are in charge of the gospel ministry or gospel industry, be honesty, or because this is ministry. It's not like it's not a job or whatever. It's a ministry. So those who are in charge, especially the big artists who are wenye walianza kitambo, naelewa. So hao wanafaa kuwa kipaumbele kusaidia wale wenye wanaibuka na pia kuonyesha njia nzuri, kwa sababu unajua wengi wetu hatujui tunafaa kufanya nini, ama unafaa kupata royalties zako kwa njia gani, unafaa kulipa kwa njia gani, hatujui. Tuko na vipawa, tunajua kuimba, tunaweza uwezo, lakini hatujui zile njia mwafaka sisi tunaweza fanya ili tusaidike, ili tuinuke zaidi. So wale wenye wako kwa hiyo industry wanafaa kutushika mkono, na pia wale wasanii wakubwa wenye wamebobea pia wanafaa kuwa kipaumbele kumulika sana hawa upcoming artist, ili wawasaidie, wawashauri zaidi kabisa, ndio pia nao waweze kujua wanafaa kufanya nini, wanafaa kusaidika vipi, ama watafanya nini ndio wasaidike na kwa njia gani.
Okay. Na tunataka tunataka kuchukua break kidogo, na tukirudi tutatuambia kama wewe mwenyewe kibinafsi umeweza kusaidika katika journey yako ya music. And also we want to speak on gospel. Is there a difference between being a gospel musician and a Christian musician? Because I was told that there's a difference between these two. So we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be right back with more of this conversation. Don't go too far.
October is usually a World Savings Month. For this reason, we will be having a talk on promoting a savings culture in Kenya, where we discuss the general savings culture in Kenya, challenges hindering savings, how to increase savings, how to develop a healthy savings culture, savings options available in the microfinance and SACCO sectors.
Wamwendea akili kinyume. Leo mwanao ndio haji kazini na siku nyingi sana hajakuja kazini.
Yaani leo hii mkoa muita mzembe wakati yeye ndo alofanya bidii paka mkapata huyo investor.
Semini kama Laban anaweza kumwamini huyu mwanamke kiasi hicho kama hawana uhusiano wa karibu.
Yaani Laban simwelewi. I think amechanganyikiwa. chochote unachotaka Pili mimi ukupatia. Kwani kuna shida yote?
Umwambie wakili kila ulichokifanya. Ma.
Your entire personality is built around your bottoms. Wiggle it just a little bit. So now young ladies don't even want their age mates anymore.
Wanatafuta wababa.
Wanatafuta
sasa
wababa.
Sasa
wanaharibu kama mbaba yuko na school fees.
Kila mtu anataka kuwa na Bentley.
There are serious things now around surgery.
Yes.
And then the idiotic, your bottom line is, your song is so bad that to make people interested in it, you have to
use your backside
again.
You see, where are the brains?
Yes.
Where are the
hidden somewhere near the bottom?
Well, the referee has said it's a penalty. He said it was a handball, and he's given a penalty. It did touch his hand. It's absolutely spot on. Asmoajian has the chance for the penalty spot to sink Serbia. Jen steps up, Stojkovic goes the wrong way, and Ghana are going the right way. The deadlock finally broken with 6 minutes to play, and Ghana have the lead. Some kind of freedom, and that is that. And Milan Rajovac, against his home nation, will not celebrate the victory, but those in his team will. Ghana 1, Serbia 0.
And we are back for more of this interesting conversation on the gospel industry, music industry in its entirety. And the question that I had asked before we took a break is for Lewis to explain to us about his journey, coming up. Have you had any support as an upcoming artist, or do you consider yourself an upcoming artist?
No, I don't consider myself as an upcoming artist. I'm a great artist. Okay. I'm not upcoming artist, yeah.
So the upcoming artists are not great artists.
No, if you call yourself an upcoming artist, that means you don't believe yourself.
All right.
Yeah, so for me, I don't call myself an upcoming artist because I know what I have is not upcoming. It is inside, so it's a big thing.
So what do you refer to?
I call myself a great artist, a big artist.
All right, as a great artist, let me take that again. As a great artist, have you received any support from the established artists?
Not really. Mimi bado ni mgeni sana, sijaanza kitambo sana kuimba. So hata kama nimepata support sio kubwa sana vile. Kwa hiyo, what do you mean specifically?
Yeah, someone to hold your hand when you want to explain for these guys that have been in the industry for so long, to tell you what ways to go, how to move about,
nipata support kubwa sana. Nipata support kubwa kutoka kwa kuna wale wasanii wenye nimebahatika kupatana na wao, ile ushauri wao, hata kama si ile kusema nitakupatia full sponsorship ya music kama nini, lakini ule ushauri, kwa sababu for me I consider a lot the advice than any other thing. Hii wengine ni Mungu, acha Mungu akuguse wewe mwenyewe, lakini nimepata support kutoka kwa kanisa, mapastasi wangu, mzazi wangu, mamangu nyumbani, marafiki, na pia hao wasanii wenye napata bahatika kupatana na wao, wananikalisha chini, wanaangalia nyimbo zenye niko nazo, sema you have good thing, so do this, fanya hivi pole, don't worry, siku yako itafika. So ile advice ndio nimepata sana, na imani pia nitazidi kupata advice kubwa zaidi, na pia support kubwa kwa mafans, kwa church, ama hata sponsorship, kwa sababu hiyo ndo challenge kubwa tena sana. Especially
the funding no problem
tena sana
for you. Okay.
Yeah, I struggle a lot ndio niweze kuproduce audio. I struggle a lot ndio niweze kutoa video. Yeah.
So having that you've produced 5 songs, how have you been able to fund them? Uko na another side job ama music ndo uko fully into music?
No, I'm not fully into music. Unajua music lazima kuwe financial stable. So kama hauna, lazima uangalie kitu kingine cha kufanya ili uweze kusaidia music yako. So for me, wanafanya kazi tofauti, napata shilingi 2 pale, shilingi 1 pale. So na save pole pole, na kidogo chenye pengine mkiambia rafiki yangu niko na wimbo mpya lakini sina uwezo, unaweza nisaidia na kitu chochote hivi. Nakwambia au chukua hii 200 ama chukua hii 500 ama chukua hata 50. So hivyo vidogo ndo na accumulate pole pole mpaka nikifikisha ile amount yenye inahitajika kwa audio ama ile amount inahitajika kwa video na peana. So like zile hustle zangu zote mimi kile ninachokipata nakimbiza kwa music, sababu hapo ndo passion yangu iko.
Hapo ndo service
yangu iko, na because I believe it's a God call. So si waste ama si nikipata ile shilingi 2 yenye nimepewa na mwenzangu ama ile yenye nimefanya kazi kidogo hivi nikapata nikiweka pale, sioni kama nina waste, kwa sababu najua ni kazi ya Mungu. Na huyo Mungu mwenye amenisaidia nikapata hiyo kazi, nikapata hiyo 500 ama 1000, huyo namrudishia kupitia chile alinipatia ambayo ni uimbaji wangu kwa watu wake.
Okay, all right. So kabla tuende kwa you guys telling us the difference between gospel, being a gospel musician and a Christian musician, tell us about your latest song Nilinde.
Yeah, my first song inaitwa Nilinde.
First song ama latest?
Latest song, sorry.
Song,
yeah, inaitwa Nilinde. Nilinde actually is not a song. It's more than it's a prayer. Kwa sababu inasema na imani Mungu unaniona na unaona hali yangu. Una masikio na unasikia, basi sikia maombi yangu. So it's a song but in a form of a prayer. It's a song, it's a prayer for you and me, because everyone needs protection. Hata wewe vile uko hapa, sisi uko kazini, si ndio? Lakini umetoka vizuri kwenye ulitoka kama ni nyumbani, lakini hujui utarudi vipi nyumbani. Lakini una imani utafika salama kwa sababu unajua Mungu atakulinda. So my song talks more on God's protection. In area zote, either uko kazini, uko barabarani, uko kwa usafiri wako, mahali popote pale naomba Mungu akulinde, kwa sababu mambo mengi sana yanatukia bila kujua fahamu wetu. So hiyo wimbo wangu hata sio wimbo sana, yani ni ombi, is a prayer. Ukisikiza vizuri, ukisinafuatilia beat by beat, utajua na maanisha nini.
Amazing.
Very powerful, yeah.
Amazing, and we'll get to listen to your song tukimaliza show. Utatuimbia kidogo alafu pia tutaisikiza. All right, so John, tell us, what is the difference between a gospel musician and a Christian musician? If you believe there's a difference.
I'm not sure whether I know whether there's a difference, but I believe a gospel musician, it's someone who has a gift, so they can sing gospel music. And a Christian musician is someone who has gone ahead, and maybe they are born again, and now they are doing gospel songs because for this country, and they are born again. Remember I said about gifts. You can have the gift, but you're not born again, and you decide to sing Christian songs.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's hear from Lewis. What do you have to say?
Yeah. She's very right. Yeah, it's a gift. It's a gift from God. Unaweza kuwa wewe hata sio Mkristo, but you sing gospel so well.
You're not born again, but you sing gospel.
Yeah, you're not born again, but you sing very powerful gospel. And you might be a born again, but your gospel is not as powerful as yule mwenye ako not born again. So it's a gift from God. So sio lazima kuwe born again ndio unaimba gospel. Unaweza kuwa wewe si born again hujaokoka, lakini kuna ile gift Mungu Mwenyezi Mungu amekuwekea ndani yako. You sing a powerful.
All right.
Yeah.
So now
that unaweza pata wewe ni mtoto pastor, but uko na gift ya secular.
So would you
unapata mtoto mwenye si pastor, mtoto mwenye si pastor lakini hakuna gift ya kuimba secular. So unaona kuna tofauti kubwa sana. Unaweza kuwa born again but huna hiyo gift yani. Unaweza kuwa born again but uko na very powerfully. So ni ile gift ya Mungu amekuwekea ndani yako. Sio ile kuwa Christian. Okay. But kile Mungu amekuwekea ndani yako. Yeah.
So John, especially that you sang about talent. So a Christian not singing gospel, is it fine?
A gospel.
A Christian, you're a born again Christian, but you don't sing gospel. You sing other music, any type of music, maybe love song, you know, some have some messages, but just you being a Christian singing love songs.
You can do a love song to God.
Yes, but now you've chosen to do it for, you know,
well, maybe it depends. It will depend with the lyrics, because you can sing to your husband, to maybe your girlfriend, your boyfriend. I really don't think there's a problem there, because the Bible says, out of the abundance of heart, the mouth speaketh. So it is what is inside you. What have you filled yourself with? Because if you fill your heart with God's word, definitely that is what you'll be feeling to sing. So if you fill yourself with Song of Solomon's all the time, so it's what you'll sing so to. Out of the abundance, the mouth speaketh.
Okay. So what about a secular person singing gospel music? What are your thoughts on that?
You know, our God is so compassionate and our God is loving, and He created all of us. You may not be born again, but you recognize His sovereignty. You recognize that He's God. So there's nothing wrong for a non-born again person to sing a Christian song, because it means that they recognize that there's a God in heaven. So the only thing maybe they haven't done is to accept Him as their Lord and Savior, but they recognize that He's God. Okay. So singing is okay, because you're appreciating what God has done. You appreciate that maybe He has healed you. You appreciate that God has taken you from this step to another. So there's nothing wrong with that. But my prayer will be, after you've sung that, can it have a change where now you get born again?
Okay. And speaking of music having a change in your life once you sing it, does it happen to you? Has any of your songs that you have sung ministered to you at a particular time in your life?
Yeah, for a song.
What song?
Yeah, for any song you write, any song you sing, it must first minister to yourself before it ministers to anyone else. So any song you sing, any song you write, it must first minister to yourself. If it doesn't minister to yourself, then there's a question mark on that song. So any song you write, any song you sing, you make sure it ministers to you first before it ministers to someone else.
All right. Yeah. And Joan, is it also the case for you? And what song, particularly in all of your songs, because now you are about to release your 4th album, what particular song in all of the songs that you have sung? I know that each song has to minister to you first before you release it to others. But is there at any particular point in your life that a song that has spoken to you so much, more than you ever thought?
Most of my songs speak to me. If tomorrow I get myself into a prayer where I need to do a new song, that song will still be ministering to me. So most of my songs I love. There's a song called Mungu ni Moto. There's also a song called Nitasimama Tena. I have so many. If I start mentioning, I don't know. But every time, what I want to say is that every time I'm doing a new song, that song is already ministering to me before I release it.
Okay.
So it's only that now they are past. You've already done them. But every time, even the next song maybe I'll do, that song will still be ministering to me.
So it's a new testimony from
every time, new things God speaks to in different ways. Yeah.
Okay. And Lewis, you said that you alluded to the fact that every song is, the latest song is a prayer. So is this the case, with mental health issues? People have been going through a lot, especially after COVID hit the country. We've had the worst cases on depression and death by suicide, and people are going through a lot. So what is the power of music when someone can't even pray, even for Christians that have been through this? What is the power of music?
Music has a very great power. You just listen to the music and you get healed or you get touched. Because, for example, the song Nilinde, for example, when you are going through the mental problems or any other suffering, and then you come across the song Nilinde. Nilinde nisipate ajali, ama nilinde katika maisha yangu, nilinde nitokapo kazini, nitokapo nyumbani. So that song ibariki, unaelewa? Itakubariki, nitakutuliza nafsi yako. So the songs are very important because they touches the heart. Unaelewa? They touches the heart na zina bless. So unaweza kuwa umetulia tu hivi, you are undergoing so many things, but you come across a worship song, a very powerful song about what you are going through. So through that song, it is a kusaidia, inakufanyia, unatuliza roho yako unatulia, unapata amani. Hata kama pengine umeanza ku give up hivi, wimbo ni wimbo wenye kutia moyo, unakutia moyo, unatulia. Yeah, there is hope. Unaona, kama ume give up, there is hope because hiyo song imekubariki. So that's the importance of these songs.
So would you say that in place of prayer, when someone can't even pray, that a song will do at that particular time?
Yeah, when you can't even pray, naelewa. You can even kneel down or keep quiet. There's in different forms. You can even whisper. If you can't even pray, you can whisper to yourself. Listen to the song and then whisper, or fall back the song as it sings. If it's a worship song, you just fall it back, and then in that way you'll be praying.
All right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, Joanne?
You can. It's not really a must. You pray. Sometimes maybe you're discouraged, and you listen to a song, and that song ministers to you. I remember this time I went on Sunday. One of the guys came. Because of course I'd gone there to preach and also as a music minister. So after the service he came and gave us a testimony that nobody prayed for him to get born again. He listened to a song and that's how his life transformed. Wow. So music has power, especially when you sing using the word of God, because the word of God is power and the word of God is life. So when you sing, especially using the scriptures, singing is still like preaching. So the person who's standing here to sing is ministering, is preaching, as the same person who's standing on the altar to preach. It's only that now the message is coming through music, but you're doing the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. And I've seen that, like the latest song, you use scripture to sing song. Do you think that this is something that should be applied by all artists, or it just depends on what the Holy Spirit speaks to you at that particular time? And what is your motivation for you personally when you come up with a song and when you release a song? What do you envision it to do?
When most of my songs, if you listen to most of my songs, they're scriptural. Even if God gives me a message, like I remember there's a song I did here, Nitasimama Tena. I was in a low season, but God encouraged me through the song. But even as I was singing it, I related it with a scripture, the story of Mordecai, the story of Meshibeth in the Bible. So most of these songs, you want people out there to be lifted, because if that song ministered to you, and it can be able to minister to someone out there, then I think you've passed the message on, because music is not about any other thing, but it's a ministry. It's supposed to lift God's people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the best feedback that you have received from your songs? People comment on YouTube that, what has been that message that you've gotten? And I'll also ask Lewis the same question.
I believe it's like God gives me messages that are going to encourage people, because most of the messages I get on my inbox I listened to this song, I was really encouraged. Maybe God, my ministry is about edification, edifying people who are in low season, maybe people are discouraged, people have no hope. My songs are geared toward lifting them up and bringing them together. There's hope. So if you listen to most of my songs, it's like encouraging people.
So it gives them hope.
Yeah.
And Lewis, what's feedback? What is some of the feedback that has touched your heart and you know that I'm doing the right thing?
Yeah, I've gotten so many feedbacks from my people, from staff, from my fans. And some of the feedbacks is somebody calls you, somebody calls you maybe after ministering or after singing somewhere, and I can be a young man. My day is changed because of what you sing or what is spoken. May God continue using you. What you have is great. So such messages, such calls really bless you, and they motivate you, and they makes you work more hard, producing more songs, keeping in mind that you touch so many people. You don't just sing, but you sing a song that will touch someone. And so that's really great for me. The feedback I'm getting, hata M-Pesa pia, Sometimes
that is also a feedback that you get.
Feedback,
you know?
It's good to appreciate the little you get, sindio?
Yeah.
Sometimes napata mtu, young man, sina chochote, but chukua hii 100 ndio kunywe chai. It's appreciation.
It is.
Yeah, because angenunua tomato na vile unga ni gali sahihi, lakini ameona kupatia kwa sababu umembariki. So it's a good feedback pia, and we appreciate and we thank the Lord.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So before we close this conversation, give us your social handles. Watu utakupata wapi for your music?
Oh yes, I'm Lewis Baraka. You can get my songs in all social media platforms. Lewis Baraka YouTube channel, Lewis Baraka Instagram, Lewis Baraka Twitter, Lewis Baraka Facebook. Kindly you like, subscribe and share as you leave your comment. When you are blessed, you make an appointment of blessing someone. So when you are blessed, make sure you share so that someone else can be blessed too. Don't be selfish with the gospel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to you, Joan, where can people get your songs?
My social media handles are Joan Mutugi. Joan Mutugi in Instagram, Joan Mutugi, Facebook, fan page, Facebook still Joan Mutugi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming along and blessing the people with your words of wisdom on this particular matter. So that has been Joan Mutugi and Lewis Baraka. We have the songs that we are about to play for you so that you are blessed by them. As Lewis has said, when you hear the song, make sure you spread the gospel. And we have Vipawa Vya Mungu by Joan, the latest song. And for Lewis, we have Nilinde. So take a listen. And more is coming on Good Morning Kenya, so stay with us. So that's been awesome.
kupitia vipawa hivi. Siwe kama yule kichakazi alikabidhiwa talanta moja, akachimba akaficha kule chini. Aliye na kitu atazidishiwa, asiye na kitu atalicho nacho kichukuliwe. Vipawa vya Mungu havina majuto, vipawa vya Mungu havina majuto, vipawa vya Mungu havina majuto. Tutajibu tulivyopewa, vipawa vya
juncture, I want to call upon my friend Lewis Baraka. This young man is just being used mightily of God. Come on, welcome with a clap of fire. You can do better than that. Thank you, church.
I have several songs in all social media platforms. Nisamehe, Mungu yu mwema, Asante kwa uhai. You can support me. You can follow me on all the platforms. Lewis Baraka YouTube channel, Lewis Baraka Instagram. Nilinde is my new song. Nilinde nisipate ajali. Ajali sio lazima ugongwe na gari. Hata ukikosa amani, hiyo ni ajali. Thank you so much. I hope you'll enjoy as I minister or sing with you. Thank you so much. Kindly support my music ministry. Be blessed.
world's biggest sporting event is here with us. The FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar. KBC Television will air live 28 selected matches, while radio will beam live all the 64 matches. We would like to bring to the attention of the public that KBC is the only station that has exclusive 2022 FIFA World Cup free-to-air FTA broadcast rights for both TV and radio in the Kenya territory, and no other media outlet. Therefore, catch all the FIFA World Cup action live and exclusive on KBC TV and radio. KBC is indeed your true sports partner.
To get Change Your Thinking Skizatune, dial star 811 star 961 hash.
When you change the quality of your thinking, you change the quality of your life. Sometimes instantly, just as positive words can make someone calm, smile or laugh, your thoughts will react to the world in real time. So, change the quality of your thinking.
Dial star 811 star 961 hash. Star 811 star 961 hash.
Exactly 4 minutes past the top of the hour. You're right in time for our last conversation this Thursday morning. Our focus centered on savings. We are looking at the savings culture in our country. This is what you're set to converse in the next 40 minutes. And my guests are here to help us understand more about savings, the savings culture, what you can do to just improve and increase on your savings. To my extreme left, that is Ephantus Kagia, who is the Marketing and Communications Manager at SMEP Bank. Right with him is Claudia Nambuire, Financial, Education and Capacity Development Senior Officer at DSIK. And right next to me, almost next to me, that is Grace Watiera, Head of Programs at Akoska. Ladies and gentlemen, karibu sana.
Thank you.
And for the context and purpose of this conversation, because those names I was mentioning, I'm so sure viewers are wondering, so what is DSK, what is Akoska, what is MEP? That's where I want us to broach this discussion from. Just for the purpose of context in relations to savings, I want you to talk to us about these organizations you're in, the mandate, and how it's related to savings. And perhaps I can begin with you, Ephantus, on that one.
Thank you very much. I represent SMEP Microfinance Bank. It's a microfinance bank that was started back in 1875. Then, as a credit only, but now we have a license by the Central Bank of Kenya to do deposit taking. So we do deposit taking, we give credit, we do open accounts. We just operate like any other bank, but we are a microfinance bank. As I said, we've been in operation since 1975. So we are regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya, and we are also a member of the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation. So that means if you deposit your money with us, your money is insured, your money is safe. Thank you.
This is since 1975 or 85?
75.
75.
Yes.
What about Claudia, DSIK? What is it involved with?
Thank you for the question. DSIK is an abbreviation of a name from a German group, a finance group called German Sparkassen. Basically, it stands for Dutch Sparkassen International Corporation in Eastern Africa. What we basically do, our major role in Eastern Africa is to promote advocacy for sustainability in financial matters through capacity development in financial education. Basically, what we do with our partners, that is, we work in a collaboration with our partners, AMC and Akoska, through business games in the country. That is how we disseminate our financial literacy training. And we also do capacity development where we train staff of funds and microfinance and circles on how to do their business, build capacity within the staff, among the staffs, so that they can have
Claudia, I just want you to hold at that point. We work on your mic and we'll come back to you to explain in detail what exactly DSK is dealing with. But before we get to that, let me come to you, Grace. You are one of the partners. You're head of programs, ACOSCA. How is ACOSCA involved in all this, and this again also in respect to savings?
Okay, thank you so much, Doreen. So ACOSCA, let me start by that. ACOSCA is the African Confederation of Cooperatives, Savings and Credit Associations. In short, what they do is it's an umbrella body for national associations across the continent who work and deal mainly with SACCOs. Okay, so credit and savings associations, popularly known as SACCOs in Kenya. We use other terms like credit unions, other parts of the continent. But what we do together with DSIK and AMFI, it's a partnership that has come together primarily to promote financial well-being through the vehicles that we have. So as ACOSCA, we are also an advocacy arm. So we work very closely with government agencies, not just in Kenya, but across Africa, to ensure that we promote policies, we promote agendas that support financial inclusion. And when we talk about financial inclusion, what we are saying is there should be financial access to all, those who are able and those who are not. And I think that's the critical component that we play in this space.
Well said, and I believe that your mic is good, Claudia. We can revert back with you to just elucidate further on DSIK and largely what it deals with.
As I mentioned earlier, DSIK is part of the big German Spartan finance group. Basically, our mandate in East Africa and particularly in Kenya is to promote advocacy and financial inclusion and education through our partner members, that is AMFI and ACOSCA. What we majorly do in our country is currently we're implementing financial education programs through what we call business games. It's a very interesting way of learning financial literacy within groups, and also we enhance the capacity of the staff within the institutions so as to empower everyone. When the client is empowered, the institution is also empowered, and that brings across a sustainable economic system. That's what we majorly do.
Well said. I mean, much as it looks like it's different organizations here and there, but you're all coming together with one main goal: financial literacy, financial well-being, to see how the information can cut across and pass to every Kenyan. But then again, let me pick it up with you, Ephantus. Even just in your interactions, perhaps with Kenyans of whatever walks of life, what has been the Kenyan saving culture? How are we doing?
I would say not very good. Not very good. Not because we do not have money, but majorly because, one, we don't know why we need to save, and two, no one is telling us or giving us a plan or a savings plan. You may find someone has money, but they really don't know how to go about saving. And saving actually is one of the hardest things to do. I've come across people with money, but they don't have any savings, simply because they don't have a plan. So when you tell people that they need to save, you need to first start with the basics of saving. So that's where, as a financial institution, we come in and we do a lot of financial literacy, so that we teach people or talk to people about saving. Why do we need to save? Yes, I have money, but why do I need to save? You'll find people, for example, complaining in January that they do not have money for school fees. Yet in December, they had all the money to do everything they wanted.
Like now, we've begun doing everything we want to do. We're almost heading to December.
Yes, but let's come to January then. People will be crying, we don't have school fees. But where is the money that was there in December? Simply because no one has been teaching them that they need to save first and why they need to save. So our culture is not very good. Our savings culture is not very good. But we appreciate that, because that's where then as a bank we come in and tell you, we are sorted, we have products for you, we give you reasons why to save, we give you a savings plan, and we ensure that by the end of the journey, you are already saving. When the president was saying that we need to cultivate a saving culture, I was smiling because as SMEP, we already did that. We have a lot of customers we have brought on board simply because we have given them a saving solution. So as Kenyans, we don't have, our culture is not very good, but at least that's somewhere we have started on. That's something we have started on, and we are doing very well. And I hope, as the President said, probably within the next 5 years, we will have a lot of people knowing how to save and why to save, because those are the two major, I would think, would be the start of this saving culture. Yes.
Well said, and we'll come to those products momentarily, but then don't you think this is a bit of a contradictory when you talk about Kenyans don't really know how to save, so to speak? We are reeling with a high cost of living currently. Just the other day the President talked about you'll have to perhaps give me a year before even the price of unga can come down from 200. So then how do you reconcile that?
It's all about budgeting, because when you get a salary, for example, you usually pay for 1, 2, 3, you pay for your shopping, you pay for your rent, you pay maybe 10% of your tithe, you pay the tithe 10%, you pay your debts, but do you save? So even with the high cost of living, it doesn't mean that you cannot save. You will still be able to save. However, as I am saying, you need to budget for that. Ideally, you should save 20% of your earnings or of your income. At least 20% of your income should go to savings. So it doesn't matter how much you are earning. You need to start somewhere. Because yes, we have the high cost of living. That one I agree. But how then do you survive for tomorrow? How do you take your children to school tomorrow if you're not saving? How do you, for instance, purchase a plot where you need to build if you're not saving? Chances are you will go for a loan for all these things. And if you go for a loan, it will get you deeper into debt. So regardless of how much you are earning, you must start saving. You must start saving, because I usually tell people, if you have savings and you go to a bank or you come to SMEP and you want a loan, if you have your own savings, if you have something like a piece of land that is going for, let's say 1 million shillings, and you have already saved 500 shillings, so you just need half of that money. So it means your loan obligations will be lesser, as opposed to when you come to the bank and you want the full 1 million shillings. So you must budget regardless of the amount of money that you are earning. And as I said, 20% goes to savings. Then the rest follows. So at least you have 30% to do, because if you do 20% savings and you give 10% as tithe, the 70% will sort itself.
Is the practicability and the planning of it, I'll come to you in a moment just to explain to that how that be possible. But coming to you, Grace, you largely deal with corporates. And this again still in respect to savings, and Ephantus has well talked about the aspect of priority. So then one would ask, if you're focused on the corporates, where does it leave the common mwananchi, the bottom up, the mama mboga, the boda boda? Who is talking to them about, this savings culture?
Okay, so Doreen, if I could put that into context,
yes.
Our main mandate actually is for us to bring up institutions and organizations that support exactly what Ephantus is saying.
All right.
And we are looking at the whole spectrum. When we're talking about the Kenyan culture of savings being poor, it's for us to say, how do we then enhance this saving culture that we are looking for? And to borrow from some of the developed countries where saving is something that is trained even at a very rudimentary level in school. It's actually a habit that is created over time. If we take an example of an athlete, if you ask Usain Bolt, for instance, if he knew he would ever break his world record, probably 5-10 years ago he would. But it's that constant practice that he has gained over time.
Sure.
Similar to savings, it's something that we inculcate through institutions. And at this moment, I would like just to mention the SACCO, for example, as a vehicle that supports and influences people to save, no matter how small. And I also just want to agree with him to say, you do not save because of what extra you have. You save as part of, your financial management process. And savings helps you create wealth over time. And why I am so sold out in the SACCO model is because savings is prioritized as part of how you enhance your wealth. As opposed to other financial institutions where sometimes credit facilities are readily available. What SACCOs promote is, you know what, save first, and then from these savings you can borrow. What that essentially means is that you're growing both your asset and you're growing your liability at the same time. Evidently, over time, you'll be able to invest and become a person who would easily say that is in a better financial status. Okay. The youth today are really enticed with a lot of ready credit that is available, which if you look at the trends, it might not be sending the right signal. You might find that the youth are getting into debt without understanding the concept of create and build savings, create and build wealth over time. Then now you can improve your assets by getting into, you know, ventures like credit, accessing credit facility or borrowing. Which I know is something that my colleagues would also want to touch on. But indeed, the idea is how do we enhance that culture of savings? Yeah.
Well said. And you so much touched on the SACCOs, even as you talked about that. But then we'll come to look at other institutions where we can also be putting our money for savings. But then, Claudia, even in your practice, what are some of those challenges that you've come across that hinder the saving culture? I know you've talked about cost of living, but we can't keep complaining about the challenges. And also, as you respond to the challenges, how do we move past them?
Thank you, Doreen. There are so many reasons that could prevent one from saving, and most of them are intrinsic. Like, say, for example, in the current state and when there is a lot of mobile lending and very easy loan acquisition, I don't have to go and fill a form somewhere to apply for a loan, have a collateral. So the fact that I have access to a credit facility on my phone, I will just pick. I feel like I want 500 shillings from here to somewhere else. I just pick. I'll not even first plan and budget about it. Another aspect that makes people find it very hard to save is living with beyond your means. You wake up, you see Doreen in a blue dress and you're wondering, I think I want a blue dress. You don't have money for the blue dress. You go take a loan, or whatever money you will have saved or done something else, you divert it to what somebody else has.
Is this like panic buying?
It's not really panic buying. Panic buying could be where you...
pressure buying.
Yes, that's pressure, peer pressure.
Okay.
You pick something that maybe at that moment you don't even need it completely, but because you see someone has it, it makes you want to be like them. You want to live the life they're living. You want to live in this estate while you cannot afford that amount, maybe to be there. Another reason that would make someone have a challenge in saving is multi-borrowing. Yes, I could need a loan today to do a project, but why should I take a loan from Ephantas, from Grace, from Doreen, from so-and-so? This only means that I have a vicious circle that is unending. I have to borrow from one person to pay the other person, so that my name is clean the next time I work the same person.
Which is the current culture.
Yes, and eventually you find that you will not be able to save anything, because if your circle is borrowing, you will live in borrowing and you will never save. So those are some of the things that make it very, very hard. And as my colleague said, Ephantas, if you don't have a budget, you cannot save. I'm very certain, because even if you're earning 100 million today, for example, and what comes on your way, you want to pick it, you will not. Savings is not something that it's not automatic. It's a culture you have to build and develop on your own as a discipline. So if you want to save, you ought to learn how to budget. That when I'll get my money next month or at the end of the month, I want to make 10% tithe. I want to make 20% savings. So that when the money comes in, you're able to allocate the money as you had planned. Without that, then you will find everything to buy, because you will never have enough to spend, but you can have something to save for yourself.
Okay. Maybe if I could just chip into what Nabure has said here as well. The other thing that I find peculiar is the fact that we all believe that I just don't have enough to save. We are poor, I just don't have enough to save. And I'm reminded of an experience I had recently. I happened to try to climb the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro 2 weeks ago, and I was surprised that at 3,000 meters above sea level, there are people who are living there, you know, above the clouds. It's an experience that I didn't know. And because we had people from different cultures where their temperatures on a daily basis are between -10 to 0 degrees on a daily basis, and they're living, and they're like, oh, there's so much land in Tanzania, we could build houses here. I just want to refer back to the mentality where we feel that we just don't have enough. But when somebody else looks at it at a different perspective, there's too much land for all of us.
Yeah.
So it's a mentality to say that with my little income, I do not have enough. I think it starts with the mindset to say, even with the little, I still have something to set aside.
So it's more like attitude that needs to shift.
Attitude, absolutely.
All right, I hear you, and I can see all of you agreeing on that one.
Yeah.
But also, you've largely talked about budgeting, and I want to come on you, to come to you, Fantas, on this one, because you also touched on it. So let's take a classical example of, let's speak like 30,000. This is a Kenyan earning 30,000. You've talked about the 10% tithe. You've talked about 20% needs to go in saving. This Kenyan says he or she needs to pay school fees. They need to pay this debt. So when someone comes to you and this aspect of budgeting, what is the easy guide through that you give? And looking at that amount, how do you go about it?
Well, there are various options around it. One, if you are earning 30,000, probably you are not living in Kilimani, because 30,000 cannot sustain you in Kilimani.
Yeah.
So one, you have to live within your means. But that is actually a question that we asked ourselves. We came up with a savings product. So we asked ourselves, how do we get people who are at the bottom of the pyramid to save? Because they really want to save. But if you tell them to save 20% of 30,000, which is 6,000, it might seem like a lot of money. So we juggled our minds around it. So that's why I'm saying we have various options. There's something we came up with called the 52-week saving challenge. The 52-week saving challenge allows you to save weekly, but small amounts. Weekly, but small amounts. So that by the end of the 52 weeks, which is 1 year, you will have saved a lot of money easily. Now, if you're earning 30,000, I would believe if you have a target of your savings, it would be anything between 50,000 and 100,000 at the end of the year. So we tell you, instead of saving a lot of money monthly, and then at the beginning, at the remainder of the month, you suffer because you don't have enough money. You save just a little. So if you're earning 30,000, we tell you a month, the first week of January, for example, just save 50 shillings. Then the second week, you double that 50, you save 100. And the third week, you save 150. So you are increasing the amount that you are saving per week by 50 shillings only. Do you know how much money you'll have by the end of the year? You'll have saved 68,900 shillings.
Just by saving 50? 50. From 50 as you increase?
Yes, as you increase. 68,900. Now, it looks impossible. Actually, even we also doubted when we said, will people be able to save this way? But by the end of the year, so many people had saved. And many people had saved because they wanted to see whether they can save. By then, the highest customer saved around 137,000 in the first year. But over time, because people appreciated that there is a way they can save without having to struggle, just kidogo kidogo, slowly, slow but sure. Now we have people who are saving up to 300, 400, 5,000 at the end of every year. And of course, as an institution, we say, because you have saved and it's not a loan, we give you a small interest of 7%. So what am I saying? If you really want to save, if you really change your attitude and say, I must save, options are available. When we started that challenge, there are people who came to us and said, we have three options. You can start with 25 shillings, or 50 shillings, or 100 shillings, which at the end of the year will give you different options. But we said, people said, you are locking me to a particular ending. I want to lock myself to a particular ending. Is that possible? And we included that option too, so that you can be able to say, by the end of 3 months, or 6 months, or 9 months, or even 12 months, I want to save this particular amount. So we tell you then, this is what you need to save per week or per month for you to achieve that. So all these options are available. So even if you're earning even 25,000 shillings, or even 20, when you change your attitude, it doesn't matter how much you are earning, you will save, and at the end of the day, you will achieve your goal. Because one of the other things that people ask, or people struggle with, is, okay, and that's why they don't save. Why am I saving?
For what purpose?
For what purpose?
Assuming also this someone who has already built their houses, for instance, bought cars, taken children to school. Yes. Why are they saving? Or on the bottom, someone who thinks that I have a lot to do, so then why am I saving?
There are a lot of reasons. Assuming I've achieved everything in life.
Yes.
Tomorrow you might die, and you don't know who will take care of your family when you are gone. This is like a fallback plan. If my plan A does not work, there's always a plan B. If tomorrow we are told, oh, there is an earthquake and everything that you have disappears, you have a fallback plan of your savings, as opposed to someone who has not saved anything, and then you lose everything that you have. You know you are going to start down there. Someone was making fun of me last year. Kaniuliza, do you have personal accident cover, or did you have insurance? How do you walk around the streets without insurance? You might go, and if you go, your family will suffer. So it is always good to have a reason why to save, and you cannot lack a reason to save. Having a lot of money is not a reason, or having achieved what you wanted in life is not a reason not to save, because you don't know tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. And so then, Claudia, here we are. We've already established how we can budget, how we can plan. We already have an understanding that it's good to give that 10%, 20%. If you can't do 20%, you can do the 50-50, as how Ephantus was explaining. But then how do you, over time, increase on your savings? What measures or ways do you need to employ to do that?
One easy way of increasing your savings is starting from where you are. That is the primary, it's like the end goal. Just start from where you are. If you're earning, say for example, 20,000 shillings today, and you decide I'll be saving 2,000, just 2,000. Next time, the fact that you achieved this 2,000 saving this time round will motivate you to save, even if it's 2,050 shillings next month. So long as you start with on the first step, you'll always have a way of increasing your savings. Another very easy way of increasing your savings is reduce or just stop impulse buying. You wake up today, you hear there is something on the streets, you want to buy these fluffy sandals that ladies walk with even during the muddy season. Just stop impulse buying. And some of the very easy ways to reduce some of this buying that are not very disciplined is look at the end game. How much am I losing when I'm buying this thing? I used to make a very simple example a while back when I was doing financial education somewhere, that if you are this person who says, I really love eating roasted maize in the evening as I go home, and every day you are picking a piece of maize at 20 shillings, 20 shillings every day. Today you're eating 20 shillings piece of maize, but again you're going home to still eat supper or dinner or ugali or whatever. If you're eating 20 shillings every day on the road, just as a way of stretching to your place, how much is it you're using every year? You take 20 shillings, multiply by maybe 365 days, that's around 7,000 shillings. That is a whole maize, or even two. If you decide that I will just stop this habit and start saving this little money, then you will always increase on your savings. If you're able to go to the marketplace and buy things in bulk, you will really save a lot. Because if you're this lazy person who you want lunch, you call them, I don't know what they're called, these Uber or Uber Bites, whatever. The more you keep on buying from the retail, there is an element of the prices being higher because this person is also capitalizing on making their profits. So if you are able to go to a place and buy things in bulk, it will really save you one. The prices will be cheaper. Number two, it will save you time so that this time you can invest in something else. Number three, you are able to pick everything you need at a go. But if you went to maybe the estate kiosk, you'll buy milk. You will go in the house, remember you don't have fuel, you go back and buy fuel. But if you are in a wholesale place, you can easily pick everything at once and save a lot, and you can always compare prices. It's no harm comparing price. There's no even harm. Like Kenyans, typical Kenyans, we bargain as much as you can, save something. And the money you are saving you're saving from the purchase, put it somewhere. Don't transfer it to buying something else. Make sure that you save it.
You want to jump in on that one?
Yes. I actually worked with someone, as she was saying. One of my friends has a business and always complaining, I'm not able to save. So I went to a business and just say that how he conducts the business. So I told him, I want you to do this. I can see you are writing everything that you are selling down. But are you writing everything that you are consuming? Anything that is passing, samosa, mayai, uji, are you writing it down? So I want you from today, anything that you buy out of your budget, just write it down. And then I'll come at the end of the month. And he did that very well. And at the end of the month, when I went back, we realized that he was using over 20,000 on small things. Hizo vitu tu zikipita, unanunua jumper inapita, you buy. A nice shoe, you buy. So by the end of the month, 20,000 is going just like that, and something that you don't need. So I ask him now, if you convert this consumption, this money that you are consuming, into savings, you have a lot of money by the end of the day. So impulse buying,
it's a no-no.
It's a no-go zone.
Maybe just to add on that again, one way of increasing your savings is find a safe place to save. Because if you could save this money that you are avoiding the impulse buying, but if you take the money in the house, you will do something with the money. So make sure that at least you make sure that you could be in a chama, you save your money in a bank, you could have the mobile apps that have a savings option. Make sure that your money is placed somewhere that is safe so that you see the value, see it growing. Yes.
Find the best place to save, Grace. You have touched on SACCOs so much, and I can tell you for sure, good number of Kenyans are really heading towards SACCOs when it comes to saving. I think also because of the low interest rates and quick and access of loans on that particular platform. But then what are really the benefits of SACCOs that you largely deal with?
Some you've already alluded to, Doreen. SACCOs offer a platform, first of all, to save, because that's the foundation. And if the public will not be taught anywhere else how to save, the SACCO will, because that is how you even actually gain membership, by you starting to save, no matter how little the amount is. But then the model is different in such a way that the moment you join a SACCO and you start saving and you own even a single share, you automatically become a shareholder. That's different from the model that other financial institutions have, where there is just a specific number of shareholders. What does it do to you once you're a shareholder in the SACCO? At the end of the year, you also are a beneficiary of what we call dividends. That is the surplus that comes through after the business of the day. So you are growing your wealth even as you're saving. The next thing that will happen is that then you will also be able to access credit at very affordable rates. And that goes a long way in building what we are now calling, wealth. People think that when I'm saving, I'm throwing away that money. It's actually still yours. The money is still yours. You probably use it more meaningfully because you've thought about it, and it's a thought process that you have. You're probably planning to invest and even create generational wealth for those that are coming after you. The other thing that SACCOs do very well is work with partners like DSIK, for example. And through these projects, we offer, financial literacy almost for free for many of our members. Yeah. So you find that somebody is becoming very aware, for instance, of some of those predatory kind of behaviors that we'll find in the market, that there's ready financing, but should I really take it? With financial literacy, you make the kind of choices that you should have that will enhance you being a financial, having a financial sustainable kind of plan to grow you and to grow your family in the future. And today they've introduced so many products that you graduate with as you go along. You will start as a saver. Soon you'll probably want to buy a house. You'll be able to buy a house with the SACCO. You maybe want to invest further in your business. You will be able to do that. And we are helping them walk this journey. I think when you look at the model in general, what you are saying is, again, savings is not just for those that would consider low income. We encourage people with, decent incomes also to save. What does that do? At the end of the day, in this life cycle, I will want to borrow, and I will want to borrow a substantial amount.
Okay.
If we have all of us putting our funds together and aggregating these resources, me who has a small income, I can go, even with my little savings, to borrow because somebody else who had more has put in equally.
Yeah, well
so there's
said.
there's this thing we say, people helping people. I think SACCOs as a vehicle of financial wellness is promoting that.
Yeah, right. And I mean, this is one of those conversations that I would have loved us for us to continue having and just to get a good amount of time for this. But I can already hear my director saying we are pitched for time. We just only have 2 minutes to conclude on this one. I think we should do this again, but just for the purpose of time. I want to get your headline thoughts very quickly, and I want to start with you, Claudia. In respect to savings, what should Kenyans know?
My parting shot will be this: savings is not hard. If you start today, you save today, you're investing in a better tomorrow. Just start saving today. However little, however small you start from somewhere and do it. It's possible, it's doable.
Start saving today. Ephantas, what should Kenyans know?
I think they should know it is easy, it is possible. Banks actually, including SMEP, have made it possible for you to have access to a savings channel without necessarily going to the bank. We have made savings interesting. We have introduced incentives, like I was saying, the interest. We have ensured, or the banks have ensured that all the fees related to savings, they are done away with, just to make the journey easy for you. Once you are ready, once you start,
I hear you.
Yes.
And I won't give you the last word. Sorry for that. We'll get some other time. Nonetheless, I have been speaking to Ephantas Kagia to my extreme left, a marketing and communications manager at SMEP Bank. Right next to him is Claudia Nambwire, Financial Education and Capacity Development Senior Officer, DSIK. And to my immediate left is Grace Watsiera, Head of Programs, ACOSCA. Promoting saving culture has been the center of our conversation. Good place to end it. Thank you so much for making time. I'm Doreen Arange Okello. Till next week, good morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Doreen.
Your entire personality is built around your bottoms. Wiggle it just a little bit. So now young ladies don't even want their age mates anymore.
Wanatafuta wababa.
Wanatafuta
sasa
wababa.
Sasa wewe kama mbaba.
Kama mbaba yuko na school fees.
Kila mtu anataka kuwa na Bentley.
There are serious things now around surgery.
Around surgery,
wrong,
yes.
And then the
you spring
idiotic,
this-
your bottom line is, your song is so bad that to make people interested in it, you have to have...
To use your backside.
Again,
You
yes.
see, where are the brains?
Yes.
Where are the we
Hidden
have people
somewhere
who know
near the
marketing.
bottom.
Naam, hii ni Mitikasi Leo, makala kutoka BBC. Aliyomo raia wa Burundi waridhisha baada ya miaka 7. Naam, tija